I'm joined by my friend, my companion, my duo. He's a staple to the Call of Duty scene. Everybody put your hands together for Benjamin C.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the intro. How are you doing today, Tom?
And you know me,
Ben?
Ben. I'm doing fucking phenomenal.
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 I know exactly what you're
Just
saying.
same old shit for me, Ben. Got up. I went for a little walk today because I just wanted some air. Been obviously grinding the stream still in the off season. So just trying to get a lot of work done in the off season. I got some contract stuff that I'm dealing with, and people will be finding more about that, soon. Hopefully in the near future, within the next week or two, I could drop an announcement for everybody, and everybody can kind of know where my head's at and kind of what's next for me. But it's been a lot of work behind the scenes. We got some sponsor streams coming up. I'm doing a couple streams with HelloFresh. We're gonna do some cooking streams. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Just trying to change it up, Ben. It's the off season, so we want to have fun and do different things in the stream. So we've been having a great time. And then the reason why we're brought here today is because Nameless made a top 30 list. It was complete shit. A lot of people wanted us to make a 30 list of our own. And that's what we're doing here today, Ben.
Yep.
So Ben actually was the one who made this list. Ben, you made this list with a couple people in the TeamSpeak. Is that correct? Who'd you make it with?
So I was working on this with Mada AC, kind of helped me do the bones of this. And then I had a couple of people come in and sort of help with just a couple of decisions on this list. This exercise is very tough. Can you share your screen? I just want to get in the methodology of this to kind of help with that conversation.
No problem, Ben. Let's switch it over.
So the tough thing with these things is they're very subjective. So Tom, if you could zoom in the doc logo, if you wouldn't mind, where it says 100%, just so people can read the text a little bit better. So I was going back and forth. I know Nameless, I think, included Black Ops 1, and other people have done that, and Modern Warfare 3. And I was going back and forth on kind of how we do and what we do, all of that. And I kind of settled on doing Black Ops 2 and on, just COD champs and on. The list got really weird once you start adding those other two games. There are a lot of players that were phenomenal in those games and then really only had 1 or 2 year careers. And so it was a really tough decision. So there's going to be a lot of names that I think are missing from this list that if you add Black Ops 1 would be definitely on this list, but it is what it is. It just makes this a little bit cleaner, a little bit more for the modern era when people were getting pro contracts, playing under orgs, all that stuff, and people weren't doing it part-time.
Yeah. Of course. I was gonna say. So I saw the list. Obviously, there's some things I like, some things I don't like. I didn't want to get too much involved in the list because I feel like a lot of it being a player who just recently took a step back. I think I didn't want to kind of be biased, so I wanted other people to make it. And then, of course, at the end of the show, I'll adjust the list accordingly and give my thoughts on what my list would be. But I think Ben's list and him making it, you made it with didn't you make it with RJ too? Assistant coach over at Atlanta FaZe, didn't he give his thoughts too?
There were a couple of people I asked their opinions, but it was my opinion that ended up picking this list.
Okay.
I was just curious with people. There are a lot of interpersonal stuff and shuffling people in the order that I wanted to get some POVs and have people kind of argue on behalf. I would ask someone to be argue on behalf of this or that and kind of make their case in order to do this. But that was sort of my thought process. In the day, I had made all kind of decisions here and sent it to you, and you obviously had some. You had some thoughts on what I put on this list, so why don't we jump right into it?
Yeah, I had some thoughts. Obviously, wanted to hold them for the show, so I didn't say much. So I said, we'll talk about it on the show because I think we could just be as real as possible. I want to thank you guys for the idea. I know Nameless did this, but a lot of you guys were typing in my chat the last few days, please do a top 30 on the flank, do a top 30 on the flank. So you guys asked, and you shall receive. If there's anything else that you guys want to see us doing, go to the Reddit, the ZooMAFIA Reddit, all right? Go show some love, or maybe even go tweet the Flank Twitter and just let me know some of your ideas, man. We're always listening to you guys. We're always trying to up the game and do cool stuff that's just entertaining that you guys really enjoy. So if you guys enjoy this episode and you like stuff like this, let us know in the comment section down below, especially if you're watching on YouTube. And, we always love getting, criticism and being able to get cool ideas from the supporters watching. So we appreciate everybody who's joined up and ready to go. And Ben, I think we should get right into it.
We're starting at 30?
No, we're starting at 30, bro. We're going down.
So my 30th player on the list was a player that, if you would ask me a couple of years ago, probably wouldn't have made this list. But the last couple of years, and I think especially this year, has really shown that he deserves a spot. At number 30, I had the one and only Ben Vance.
Benjamin
on this
Benz
list.
coming in at number 30, baby. A little bit different from Nameless's list, because Nameless had bands pretty high up there.
So let me say this, is the tough thing in this list is when I was doing this exercise, it became clear that a lot of people have won like 3 or 4 events. So there are a lot of people that did not end up making this list. The tough thing for Ben is like, I think there are a couple of players above him that I think had more years where, if you guys scroll up to that, Tommy, scroll up to that criteria where I put at the top is sort of what I was thinking when I did this. Length of career is a top title contender on a winning team. There are a bunch of players that I felt like above him fit that criteria a little bit more. You guys will see in terms of them having 2 or 3 more better years than Ben had. But I think Ben definitely deserved the top in this list over a lot of people that actually didn't end up making it that were very good.
Yeah, there's going to be people who are definitely good players that aren't making in this top 30. But that's the whole point. You have to choose certain people. For me, Bance, he has, how many event wins does he have? Do you know? Because Nameless had them all. So the only thing that I see that you have written down here, Ben, is champs rings. I don't see anything else.
There are other columns I hid. So like,
no, hide them. Show the event wins.
Because I'm doing, so one thing I did, and I've gone back and forth with people on this, is I like using COD Gamepedia to look at results, and they break them out into different tiers. And I always have a big problem with pros that count like weird online chips.
I agree.
Tom, I know you love PSX, but PSX falls into one of those.
No. See, you're getting it wrong. I never counted PSX. I never did. But when I look at what Crim6 counts, when I look at what Scump counts, when I look at what everybody else counts, I'm like, dude, okay, I'm counting PSX. If this is what we're counting, then I might as well. I mean, like the MW3 tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was barely, like, half the N8 teams weren't even playing in half of those tournaments, or most of those tournaments, it's like, and then you have some online tournaments and some online championships, like some online rings.
That Totino's counts. Totino doesn't count, bro. Come on.
No, Totino, Looney, Dan, it counts. It counts, brother. It counts. Listen, if you want Totinos, it fucking counts.
It's like a single limb.
I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Chat, we need to end this. What we count and what we don't count, because the players that are in the top 5, they count everything, even if there was barely any teams there.
I'm not counting everything for the portion of those. And we have some audio listeners, so let me read the.
So Ben, you had it here yesterday. Where is it? You had the amount of events they won. You had everything here.
I had the columns because I also haven't checked that the counts are correct. That's why I had them too.
Fucking put the columns back up, Ben. What the fuck are you doing?
You want me to put the columns back up?
Yeah, put them back up.
I will say that the count of teams I did last night, so I don't know if it's accurate, but I will fix it. Hold up. Wait, if I put it back up though,
it won't pop up on the screen.
Yeah, but it's not going to carry over. You're just going to copy it?
No, it's just so we could talk about it, We could talk about how many events they won, and we could fucking show them some love, Yeah,
but people are going to see this and then know who it is.
Wait, be careful, Ben. Let me hide my screen. Hold on. You're going rogue. You're going. Hey, Ben, you're going fucking rogue. No, do it.
No,
Do it real quick. Do it real quick, Ben.
Oh, dude, come on.
No, we're good. We didn't leak anything. Did we leak it? No, we didn't leak.
It doesn't matter, bro.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. If people are gonna go back and count all the fucking events and shit, then what are you gonna do? Okay, good. So you have it. You're just gonna keep it like that.
Well, but people are gonna know who some of these names are.
No, I was saying on the Ben list, Ben. Not the show one, the Ben one.
Oh, you're using the Ben one?
Yeah, I got the Ben one to my right and the show one to my left. That way I can, talk about them both, Ben.
Oh, okay. Shit, so I didn't know what you meant. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Ben. Don't worry about it. I just want to make sure we have the best show possible.
Let me hide these columns then.
Yeah, hide these columns.
All right,
we're good. Perfect. We're good to go,
yeah.
Ben. That's all I needed you to do. Let's switch it back over and let's get this show on the road. So it's going to be Bance, who comes in at number 30. Bance here, LAN majors, he won twice. Online majors, he won twice. So 4 major wins. 2 of them were online. 2 of them were on LAN. Clearly, Ben has probably been one of the best European players. So I definitely would put him in the top 30. I like where you went with that for sure. But let's go over to 29, Ben. Let's keep it moving.
On that note, too, it's really kind of sad. I'm looking at my list, and I believe he is, in fact, the only European player on this list.
He is the only European. I was going to say that.
But here's what I would say is that guys like Cammy and Insight are going to very quickly get in this list after next year.
Yeah. I think for a lot of Europeans, bro, are starting to make starting to hit the scene now. Yeah. And I think they're really starting to make a name for themselves, especially people like Cammy and Insight. And this is a top 30 list all time, chat. What about Trey Zero, Ben? You didn't want to put Trey Zero in there?
Trey was also on the cut line, man. Like, I'm telling you, this exercise is way harder than you think it is.
No, it's difficult. It is difficult, you know, and that's why you got to give Nameless props for putting out a video. I know we had our fair share of, you know, opinions
Just
on his
Tom,
list.
everybody on this list has won at least 4 events.
Okay. Okay, I like that.
Just think about that. Like, there are a lot of European players who have 1 event, 2 or 2 event wins, but like to literally make this list, you have to win 4 events.
Yeah, I like that, Ben.
It's actually wild.
Ben, let's go over to 29. Who'd you put in at 29 and why?
The number 29, we had someone who's been on the show a couple of times. He's now a coach.
He was in the chat. He was just in the chat.
And he's in the chat. We're going to have Dan, a.k.a. Looney, at number 29.
Looney, ladies and gentlemen, Looney is coming in at 29. I think for Dan, it's just, bro, the leadership he brought to teams, man. It was just kind of the dirty work, the leadership, and the play style that he had. He just made the game easier around him for his teammates. You know, he was a good player to play with. And that's why you see him, honestly, being a hot commodity with a lot of these pro teams when it comes to being a coach, because you know what that guy can bring to a team. So I think Minnesota Rocker, you know, they hit a gold mine with bringing Looney into the team, because I think he's going to help those guys a lot. And someone who's been around the game for so long, I think Dan can only help. I'm going to be honest. And I'm happy to see him in the top 30 because I think he belongs in the top 30.
Agreed.
So let's get a Looney in the chat. Show Looney some love. He's coming in at that 29th spot. Phenomenal. Ben, who do you got coming up next?
Going up next, so the next 2 are kind of tied at the hip, and I think it's kind of hilarious. The order of this is also going to be kind of hilarious. Just like with Dan, we have a couple of players that were very good during the Jetpack era, and played a lot together in 8s and different teams. The next person I have up is probably the greatest player in the quality player in the city of Kansas City, aka Slacked.
Slacked, ladies and gentlemen, is coming in at number 28. So Nameless had him a lot higher. Nameless had Slacked a lot higher. I think a lot of people really like Slacked. A lot of people don't like Slacked. It's kind of just like everybody has their own opinions on it. I think Slacked in the mindset of pro players, he was always a very good player. He just knew how to win. He was a winner. And there was also a little period of time where he won an event in every game. Like, what, 4 years in a row, I think? He won an event in every game?
Yeah, Jerry was on a crazy streak, and it's one of the reasons I made the list. I really wanted to put him higher.
I think he'd be a little higher here, Ben, but I'll give my opinions once the whole list is done.
I really wanted to put him higher, Tom. It's just, trust me when you see this whole list and you see, like, the championships I have on my dock, like, why it makes this very hard. I think Jerry gets a lot of credit for being good across a lot of different games. Again, that was the main criteria. It's not just being good for 1 year.
For sure.
He was on top teams for a couple of years. But one of the other kind of keys here we had is how do we factor in new players and their trajectory? And to me, that's kind of where he's not kind of more near the middle of this. But I think Jerry has had a fantastic career, man.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic career, and I'm excited to see what he does next because I think he's going to kill it in whatever he does. I know he's definitely trying to get back into the league, and there are a couple teams. You're hearing rumors about a DC team coming in that's looking for a team. Paris has open spots. So I'm curious to see what they end up doing. So he might end up getting a spot here. I honestly don't know, and I would love to see him back in the league because I think he belongs to be in there. But Ben, I think number 27, the next one coming in, these two go hand in hand.
Yeah, this is another player who was a great jetpack goat. I know he didn't have the best of time yesterday in the show match, but he did fry phase on land this year. We got Classic coming in at number 27.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nicky D is coming in at number 27. So let me ask you this, Ben. Why Nicky D over Josiah?
This is a tough one for me. I think it comes down to Nick being a little bit more consistent across teams the last couple of years, and that was really the tiebreaker for me. I was really kind of going back and forth on how to order these two players. We were arguing a lot about it. Maybe I'm just a little bit biased because of my connection with Nick. He's a little more a friend of mine. I think these two are tied together, and that's why Nick's last couple of years, especially last year, I thought he was really good in Modern Warfare, is why I have him at number 27 here.
I think they're interchangeable. I think Nicky D can maybe be over Josiah or vice versa. I think this one's really difficult to match up. I think regardless, those two go hand in hand, and I like seeing those two names together because I think they play really well together. Those guys are like a duo, you know? So for me, I like where your head's at so far on this list. Nicola, we know what he brings to the table as a player, man. You know, sometimes a lot of the fans give him slack. because sometimes with his stats or he's not performing at best.
No
But
pun intended there.
there's a reason why a lot of pro players like playing with Nicola. There's a reason why he always finds his way back into the league. It's because of what he does behind the scenes and what he does for a team. Again, just one of those guys that makes the game easier around you. And, when you have players like that, they're hard to find. So I think somebody for me, I like how unselfish Nicky D was. I like that he just tried to do everything he had to do to get that W. So big fan of Nicky D, big fan of Josiah. Definitely like the first 4 that you had chosen here, Ben. But let's go on to number 26 because I like this one, Ben.
Yeah, this one I think is getting I've seen a bunch of top 30 lists, and this one's getting slept on, which is crazy to me because he was on a lot of good teams for the last couple of years. I know his brother's seen a lot of success, but I had Pristini to go with his 1 ring with the United Boys at the end of their run, coming here at number 26.
Yes, sir. Pristini is going to come in at number 26. He has 1 ring. He has 2 event wins, where Nicky D has 3 event wins and Josiah has 5 event wins. So is it just the ring that put him a little bit higher, Ben, in this one? Or was it just like individual skill? Or was it, what was it?
For me, it was the last couple of years for Preston. I think the ring kind of helps a little bit. But since Preston's come in, he's been on some very good teams. He had a really good breakout season. I think it's slept on by a lot of people because he's not like, the most highest consistent slayer, but he's been a really good piece. He's got to win in the CDL era as well. So to me, that's why I had him here. It was really tough to kind of put him in that order of where I put him kind of amongst the people on the bottom of this list. And also, as you'll see, the people above him. But I had to slide him in here at number 26.
Yeah, and I'm curious, too, to know what's going to be going on with him. Because some of his tweets have been kind of weird. After the season, he keeps hinting at maybe taking a step away from the game. Maybe his head just isn't there anymore. Or maybe he just doesn't want to do it. Or maybe he's just a big old fucking troll. I honestly can't tell half the time with these guys. But, I really hope Pristini doesn't hang it up too early. Because that guy can play, man. I mean, we see some individual brilliance coming out of this fucking guy. I mean, he could play. So, I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he's a very impactful player. Like, when he's dropping 40, you feel that 40. Like, you feel it just because of how aggressive he is. And, he's not afraid to be the first one in and kind of make some noise. So, I like that. I like that Pristini's on this list. And then we go over to number 25. And this is a guy that I'm so excited to see on this list. I was absolutely mind blown that Nameless left. I am mind blown that Nameless left this guy off the list and had some other guys in there that just didn't make any sense to me. So I'm very excited to announce this name. Ben, you can announce it, number 25.
Yeah, we've got the Goach, a.k.a. Chris Crowder, coming in at number 25.
Ladies and gentlemen.
He had a great playing career, was good across a lot of different titles. Tom, obviously, you teamed with him a couple of times. You've won with him a couple of times. He's got a ring. Chris is also well on the way to probably being the best coach in Call of Duty history. He may also well be on his way to be one of the best coaches in the short kind of time span esports have been a thing in terms of that list. The guy's got a great career. Isn't always a flashiest slayer, but he's the kind of guy that was leading his team's emotional center, helping with overall strategy, really being a glue guy. And he gets slept on in a lot of these lists, and I don't quite understand it.
I mean, he was slept on as a player. People always talk shit about him, yet he always came out with top 3 placings, top 5 placings, and most importantly, he's won multiple championships. He has a ring, and he was one of the smartest players I ever played with. He always played smart. He always played with his head. It was very rare you caught Chris slipping up. Sure, he had his negatives, but I think people just, for some reason, don't give this guy the credit he deserves. So to see him in the top 30 list makes me very happy, just because I know what he brings to the table as a teammate. And he's definitely somebody back in the day that you always wanted on your team, for sure. Yep. So big fan of Chris Crowder. Obviously, that's my godfather. I'm happy to see him in here. Again, somebody in the chat said friendship list. I completely disagree. I just think he 100% deserves to be in this league.
Anyone who doesn't think that Chris is in the top 30 on Call of Duty players is blasted. And look, Chris is one of those players. I'll be honest. There are 2 players with chance rings that did not make this top 30. I hate to say it. Parasite did not make this list, and Gersh, you're going to be very sad, but Illy was literally on the cut line on this list. That is how hard it is to make this top 30, but this list is going to change a lot after next year, I think.
Well, I mean, that's one thing you had to say, too, is you say Illy's on the list, but, Illy's also very young. You know, Illy's super fucking young.
Achilles not on this list too. Sorry, guys.
He has a long career ahead of him. So when you're looking at an all-time list, you know, it gets a little bit different when, you know, some of these younger guys are really fucking good, but you're not going to throw them up there at the super top guys because they haven't done much yet. They're fucking brand new.
This, trust me, there are like I said, there are so many players like that are kind of in the next 5 or 10 here and made this really hard. But Tom, we should move to number 24.
Let's move on to number 24. This is where I might have some disagreements here, Benny boy. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I think my number 24 should be a little bit higher here, but I'm going to let you read off the name.
So number 24, we've got a player who came into the scene in AW, was very good, then couldn't play for a couple of years due to age. Then he came in and was kind of slept on and had a phenomenal season in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a staple of that sort of LA Thieves, Los Angeles collective. We have Kenny coming in at number 24. And Tom, the tough thing for me before you go on this one is I really debated where to put Kenny on this list. I personally think that there's a role where he should be higher on this list. But again, as you see some of these names that are going to be above here, and you start thinking of sort of the individual matchups and how you stack up people's careers, it becomes very tough for me to kind of put him higher. He was very dominant in that World War II year, but there are a lot of players in this list that had years like that where they were a top 1 or 3 player in a given year. Trust me, it's actually insane when you guys see what's up here.
No, there's a lot of good players on this list. So, I mean, chat, a lot of people, you know, might not like it. But I agree with Ben that when you look at the rest of the list, they are very good players. We're going to go on and I'll tell you where I think he should be. But I definitely think Kenny might be a little low here because I just know what he brings to the table, especially when it comes to just straight up raw talent. Like, I think he's one of the most talented players in the league. And he has been for a few years now. So Kenny coming in at number 24. Number 23, Ben. This one might be maybe a shock to some people because this person was not on Nameless's list. Explain why you went with this guy for number 23.
So at number 23, I have Shotzi. I think he is going to very quickly move up this list by the end of next year. I will not be shocked if he jumps about 7 or 8 places in this list next year. Again, he doesn't have as many event wins, but he also doesn't have as long of a career as some of these guys. I would have really thought after last year with the trajectory of Dallas that he probably would be higher on this list. I think the reason that he's at 23 is just as a year the team wasn't as much of a contender as Atlanta or Toronto or at times like a team like New York. But I expect next year, if we were to redo this list, that he's going to be like 15th or 14th.
I mean, the reason why I think Shotzi just needs to be on this list is because he's just one of those players that people haven't seen before. I mean, he's clearly he's just a different breed, you know, in terms of his movement, his gun skill, the way he just looks at Call of Duty. And I've heard him talk about this before. He feels like that he views the game so much differently than everybody else. And if you watch him play, you know, I definitely agree with him. I just feel like he does things that you don't see anybody doing. And he really is just a flashy player, bro. You know, he's always making fucking plays. He's always doing what he needs to do on the map. And you know, everybody wants to play with fucking Shotzi. Everybody does. I think Kenny should be above him, personally. I think Kenny should be above him right now just because it's too early for Shotzi. He's looking real nice. I know the MW year was mostly online as well. So I'm looking to have Kenny above Shotzi right now for sure. But I'll give my list at the end.
Those are 2 players that I think are on contender teams potentially next year. So we'll see kind of where they shuffle in this list. But let's go over to number 22.
Number 22, I like this one because this was a guy that I played with. And boy, did I like playing with this fucking guy. Ben, let him know.
But number 22, we got Priesta pulling up.
Priesta, ladies and gentlemen.
Has had
who also didn't make Nameless's list. Mind-blowing. How did Priesta not make his list? This is fucking P-Dog we're talking about.
The craziest thing to me, Tom, is a story, and we've told this a couple times on the show, is how easy it was for us to pick up Preston in World War II because somehow after that year of IW where statistically he was one of the best players in that game at the end of the season. It wasn't just small sample size. You could cut it any way you want. And was massively getting slept on by all these contender teams. And it's crazy. And yeah, I know for stretches of Modern Warfare and for Black Ops 4, he had his up and downs, but he was super impactful when he joined that Thieves team in Black Ops 4, really changed the complexity of that team. And we'll talk about someone else who's up on the list that I think helped a lot with that too. Mm-hmm. And then this year, I think with the role swaps, and putting him on the AR. He was very good along with his teammates, and they were able to make what is probably the greatest comeback in the grand finals in Call of Duty history.
Listen, man, let's just set the record straight. This guy could do anything you want him to do. You need him to run an AR, he's going to run it. You need him to be the main SMG, he's got it. You need him to be that in-between flex, he'll do it. And he'll do it really, really well. I think P-Dog just can do anything at any given time. He's versatile. He's a good teammate. He works hard. I think just Prisa, he's just got the full package, man. He's got the full package. And I don't understand how he wasn't in the top 30 list that I was watching, because this guy's a fucking animal, and I think he's proven that time and time again. I'm thinking mainly that Black Ops 4 roster, that 100 Thieves roster was complete dog shit until Priesta came into that team. I think he just completely flipped them upside down. So I definitely think Priesta should be up here on this list, and I'm happy to see him over at number 22, Ben. This next one wasn't even on the list. This one's even crazier, Ben.
This one blew my mind.
This one's even crazier. Ben, why don't you let him know?
So at number 21, I have Big P, aka Gunless, coming in here. I would love to put Pierce higher in this list. I think he's been on some tough team situations the last couple of years. I think as a player, you talk around the league, I think his mindset has improved a lot this year. And I think he's destined for really good things as that LAG team kind of get things going. He's got a lot of rings across a couple of different games. He was on that really solid Rise Nation team. He came in the league with that United team and surprised a lot of people. Very surprised. I have seen him not included in a lot of top 30s, and I just don't quite understand.
I mean, this guy was one of the best, if not the best, in the game multiple times. I mean, he's a multi MVP, multi champion. It makes no sense to have this guy to have Proofy on the list and not Gunless, you know? So I think fucking Gunless is a fucking beast. He has 6 tournament wins, and I just think what he brings to the team, again, like some of these other guys, he's just one of those guys that's going to teach you how to fucking play and fucking get the job done. I think the one thing that maybe held Gunless back in the past is maybe his attitude, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. When we're young, we were all young. A lot of players had bad attitudes, and there's still players with bad attitudes. It's just a winning mentality sometimes for some of these people. They're competitors, so it brings out the worst in them. But I think Big P over the years, he's definitely calmed down a little bit. I'm really excited to see what he does with that LAG roster with Hook, Austin, and fucking Asim, because I think that roster is really talented, and I think they're going to mesh really well together as well. So happy to see Big P hit this list. And I'm excited to watch him play going into the next year.
Tom, before you go up to 20, just because we have new people coming in, can you scroll up for a second? I just want people to understand the methodology on this list.
No problem.
Because people toss around where's Big T at? Where's Nate Shot at?
We started at Black Ops 2.
We started at Black Ops 2. I think if you put Black Ops 1 and Modern Warfare 3 and a lot of those guys very much come into play here. Guys like Assassin, who you may not think of off the back, or like a 2 Quick, like they come into play in this list if we add those 2 games. But that's what we decided, just because of the number of events.
Assassin.
Sort of people were full-time Call of Duty players. Someone saying Moho in the chat, Neslo, like there are a lot of players that will come more into play with that, but that's our methodology right here. Tom, I'm going to scroll back down and let's get into number 20.
No, I'm just thinking about Assassin, man. I used to watch Assassin back in the day, man. Black Ops 1 clutching 1v3s on firing range and shit on the bomb site. Remember that famous 1v3 he had in the trailer and shit?
Yeah.
Some of these old school players like Proofy, Rambo, Assassin, Moho, like, dude, I used to watch these guys when I was young, man. It fucking brings back a lot of memories. And like you said, Ben, I think a lot of those guys would be on the list. So don't take it the wrong way if they're not. We're just starting this from Black Ops 2 and up. So we're not really counting those games before that. And I'm really happy we're not counting fucking MW3, because Jesus Christ. Let's go into number 20.
Number 20, we got a man who's pretty entertaining. He's one of your ex-teammates. Was trolling him in TeamSpeak the other day about the whole Ben Simmons thing. He was taking it in good spirit.
They're all going to know who it is now.
We got Enable coming in here at number 20.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got Enable at number 20, and we also have a fucking legend in the motherfucking chat, baby.
Love to see it, Tom.
I want everybody to drop a whimper in this motherfucker, because Tommy Temper, ladies and gentlemen, is in the chat, and I don't know if you guys know Tommy Temper, because if you don't know him, you're living under a fucking rock. He's a fucking icon. He's a legend. Give it up for my man, Tomas. How you doing, Tom? It's always a pleasure to see you in the chat, man. It's nice to see you. And I'll see you soon, my brother. I'll see you soon. All right, number 20. We're going with Enable, Ben, and why?
Man, I mean, Ian's another player that I think people don't realize the value that he brings to teams just because he's not the kind of guy that's dropping 1.3s. The roles that he plays on teams are very difficult. What he brings in terms of insight, what he's brought in his career in terms of work ethic at times, leadership. I think as much as people give credit for Priesta on the Black Ops 4 team and Thieves sticking with Enable, I think was a big piece of why their system worked. Ian had an unselfish role, and that's part of the reason why that team went back to max. So he was good across a couple of different games. Obviously, you teamed with him in AW, Tom, and you guys beat Optic quite a few times. You know, he was phenomenal in Ghosts. Just a really unselfish player. People maybe, I could see some people maybe thinking he's a little bit lower on this list. I just see a lot of value in that dirty work, and so for me, that's why he's sitting at number 20 here.
Listen, man, it's a multi-FPS champion. This guy's doing it in Halo. He did it in COD. He's doing it in Apex right now. If you guys don't know, Enable, he's always streaming, always playing games, twitch.tv/Enable. Go check the guy out. He's just talented, man, and I think he definitely deserves to be up here on this list with 7 major championship wins. I know he's gotten close to that ring. We all have. It's very sad when you don't get it. But somebody for Ian, man, definitely deserves to be up here. He was just one of those players that just did whatever it takes. I saw Looney put in the chat, just kind of running Vision Pulse trophy, right, in the Black Ops 4, which you didn't see many of that. He just kind of did it all. And again, just one of those players that you want on this team. This, Ben, going into 19, 18, 17, 15 through 20, is where things get really controversial, which is why I didn't want to be...
The middle of this list is really hard,
This is why I didn't want to be too much involved. This is why I didn't want...
This crazy.
This is why I didn't want to be too much involved here, because people are going to start spamming bias and start saying, you know, whatever they want. Which, listen, man, everybody has their own opinions, right? But I think... did you switch this up, didn't you, from last night? You switched it.
I switched it a little bit.
You switched it a little bit. Listen, I'll give my thoughts.
So hard. This part was so hard.
This is hard. This is hard. This is really hard.
Like, from my POV, top 10 for me is actually the easiest part of this whole list. I think top 10.
Yeah, top 10 is
top
easy.
10 wrote itself, but everything below that was like, especially 11 through 20 was like
11 through 20 is the hardest to do, for sure.
There's a lot of people on different parts of the trajectory of this career, but at number 19, a player that I thought maybe a couple of years ago would be higher in this list, but just kind of the last couple of years is still trying to get back in the swing of things. He does have a ring. He was probably the best player at the end of Black Ops 3. I have John coming in at number 19.
Juanito Bonito coming in at number 19, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, here we go, Ben. Let's get into it. Why do you have John at 19 and not higher?
So this is a great question. I think for me with John, you know, there are, like I said, a lot of players as we go up the top of this list who had those kind of takeover years. I think for John, it's a question of the last couple of years, even going towards the World War II era. I think there are players above him in this list that maybe had a little bit more longer, consistent careers on contending teams. I think people are going to probably disagree with my placement of John here. I personally think that a lot of in this list between 14 and 19 and 20 is going to take a lot of just sort of personal preference. But I had him at 19. Man, I'm telling you, this list is really hard.
Yeah, I think you can move him up. I'll give my thoughts once the list is completely filled out.
19 and 18 you could definitely swap, I think.
Yeah, we can even swap. You know, we'll talk about it once we go down the list and we get the rest of them going. I think John had a lot of ups and downs in his career, as we all did. Yeah. I think one thing you can't take away from John is, you know, if we're going by roles and being an SMG player, without a doubt, a top 5 SMG player of all time. And I think, you know, for me, SMG players personally should, you know, be valued a little bit more in my personal opinion. I just think being an SMG player, especially longevity, and having to do it year after year and constantly having to adapt and do different things. I don't know. I just feel like being an SMG player, it might be sounding a little biased for me because I was a main sub player my whole entire career. You know, I want to see more sub players hit the top of this list just because I think they deserve it. As well as Scump. Once we get into that top 5, obviously Scump's going to be in the top 5 somewhere. I think a lot of you guys want to see where we place him. But, you know, once we get there, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But we had Juanito Bonito coming in at number 19, one of the best sub players to ever do it. It's an absolute pleasure. Number 18, Ben. I think John should be over this one, personally, but I'm going to let you go.
I think a lot of people in TeamSpeak agreed with you, but I didn't want to hear them. I think that this player is someone that I think has immense potential. We've seen it at times over the last couple of years. His first year when he came in AW, he was amazing. Tom, I think you've got a lot of experience with this guy. And I'm really excited to see what he does with his new team. I have Hook coming in at number 18.
Hookie Dookie coming in at number 18. The reason why I have John above Hook, I think individual talent, Hook is better. I think I'd put Hook over John. If we're going individual talent, I think Hook definitely brings more to the table. But I think John is just way too accomplished to be putting Hook above him. I think John just knows what it takes to be a winner. And that's something Hook has struggled with through his career. I think is Hook a winner? Of course. He has a ring. I know a lot of people call it a Mickey Mouse ring because it's online. I think Hook is definitely a winner. But just looking at the accolades and looking at the championships, I would definitely have John above Hook. But this is your list, not mine. We'll obviously change it up a little bit at the end when I get my list. But Hook is an amazing talent, amazing player. And I had the pleasure of playing with him. And man, did I used to see this guy do the fucking crazy shit, especially in AW. I used to watch this guy soaring through the fucking sky in AW, popping 2 pieces. I was just so fucking confused. Hook was one of those players, Ben, especially in AW, that just brought out the best in me. Personally, he brought out the best in me, and he made me a better player. So playing alongside Hook was an honor, man. And I'm really excited to see him play along Asim in this upcoming season because I think Asim is also on that route of being a top player. To do it, I think they just need to, come together and start getting some wins under their belt and start proving to people how good they actually really are. But we'll see as the future will only tell, So Hook comes in at number 18. Number 17, this guy is fucking, one of the best to ever do it for sure. I think he's an absolute animal. I think, he definitely changed the game with his play style. I think he really changed the way the game was looked at. I think people like to copy his routes, steal a lot of the shit that he used to do. Ben, who'd you have at number 17?
I had the GOAT, the Italian stallion, Zoomaa coming in at number 17.
Forget about it. I'm coming in at number 17, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think John can be above me. Just because he has the ring. I'm going to be...
I put you above John because I thought you were incredible in Modern Warfare, and not enough people talk about that. But you hard carried your New York team for the first 3 months of that game. No offense to your teammates, but I was sometimes watching you play, and I'm like, damn, man, help this Tommy guy out.
I'm going to be honest, man. I think if I had a ring under my belt, it wouldn't even be debatable. I'd be top 15, and people wouldn't even question it. I think that ring is definitely holding me back a little bit. I think, if just me being me, I'd put John over me just because he has a ring. I'll give it to him. But me personally, just, playing John, I of course, I have an ego, right? I thought I was better than him, when I played up against him, to me, the hardest player to play against, the subs to me were Kenny at the time and Scump, players like that. When I played John, I was just fucking dumb confident, but he is an amazing fucking player and he gave me a run for my money. But, I think the 17, 18, and 19 with me, Hook, and John gets a little bit interesting. I think you can interchange this in so many different ways. I think, especially looking at John in Black Ops 3, that guy was different. He, like what Looney just said in the chat, he was just a fucking animal. So I would definitely put John, maybe a little bit higher. But, guys, you can put your own opinions on this. But I like where you put me, Ben. I like being around this 15 through 20, that top 15 area. Not fucking 30th, like fucking Nameless had me, because that made absolutely no sense. You know me, Ben. I like to be honest with myself. And I thought that was... I think Nameless did it on purpose.
That was a little fit at it.
I
like Ant. Ant's my friend. Go golfing with him.
I think he did it on purpose, bro. I think he did. I think he
likes... He thinks fucking with you?
He always fucks with me. He's been doing it since I was 18 years old. He likes to fuck with me, this motherfucker, bro.
He did say he was a FaZe boogeyman for a minute.
He's a fucking moron, Ben. He's a fucking moron.
Oh, well, I think we're going to have to get Ant on the show to talk about his list. But let's move on.
I DM'd him. I said, yo, you want to come on the show? Did he ever respond? Let me see if he ever fucking responded. Oh, he's not home. He said he's not home right now. Okay, so we'll cook him later. But, I wasn't happy with Nameless's list because it made absolutely no fucking sense. When he was talking about how he's ranking people and where he put people, it just didn't make any sense. But, yeah, Zoomaa coming in at number 17. What a fucking animal. Coming in at number 16. Who you got, Benny boy?
Number 16, and I know you're going to be pissed at this one. You had some thoughts about this one.
Yeah. I'm not pissed about it, but I'll give my thoughts on it.
Yeah, you had some thoughts about it. It is a player that I think has been kind of very much heralded in that sort of vaunted top AR conversation. He was on a couple of really dominant teams recently that 100 Thieves, Black Ops 4 team. I think the last couple of years have been really tough, but he's coming to a new team situation. I got Octane coming in at number 16 here.
Octane coming in at number 16, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why I had a problem with this is because, listen, we had the same championships, right? So I'm just kind of basing it off of, just impact on the map. I just personally think, especially me, Hook, and John, just like being sub players and being as impactful as we were and just playing in those roles, I personally would have Octane above us. I would have Octane, John, Hook, Zoomaa, or Octane, Zoomaa, Hook, John, or however
I thought
order.
you were going to go the other way on that. The way you were texting me made you think that you were going to go the other way, but I'm a little surprised.
You thought I wanted Octane higher?
No, I thought you were going to put yourself over Octane.
That's what I just told you. I think we should go Octane. I think Octane should be around like 19, and then 18, 17, 16 should be me, John, and Hook in any order you want to put it in.
I'll let the ARs versus sub players kind of duke themselves out.
It's partially, I guess, because he's an AR, but just for me, I'm just looking at who was more impactful on the map, and I think Octane is phenomenal at what he does. But I just find it hard to put him over, me, John, and Hook, to be honest. But I do think he's an amazing player. And I'm sure he's sitting there like, nah, bro, I'm fucking way fucking better than those
Sam should look at this list because there are AR players that are above him on this list that I don't think should be above him on this list. But I think, if he can get a couple of chips here and start to really kind of getting more of a contender team, the last 2 years have been tough. I think he's going to jump some of these people.
That's the thing, right? Is I'm not playing no more. Fucking Octane still got more left in the tank. He's still fairly young. He's still got a lot of time to play.
There are a couple of retired people above him on this list for sure.
I mean, listen, this is top 30 all time, but this is going to change year after year. Maybe we'll do this again after the following season. But I think very highly of Octane. I see Lamar saying the AR players getting no love. Wait till you see the top 5. Wait till you see the top 5, the top 10, because it's all fucking ARs for the most part, So I think, it gets really tricky. It gets really tricky around this 11 through 20. But number 15, Ben. Number 15, I like this one. I like this one.
Number 15, we got a player, part of that COL dynasty. I know that he hasn't been as much of a modern player in the last couple of years, but he's one of the GOATs, and we got to respect him. He won an insane amount of championships. I got Teep coming in number 15.
EP, ladies and gentlemen. He was another one that impacted the game. He had his own play style, right? A lot of drop shots, a lot of shimmies. Like, he didn't play like other people, and it was just annoying to play against, right? It was just he's one of those players where he's a winner, and he just knows how to get the job done. And TP, to me, just deserves to be in the top 15. I liked seeing his name up there because he deserves to be up there. Yeah. I'm a big fan of TP and what he's accomplished, and not just in his playing career, but also in his content creation and kind of what he's doing. I think he's sitting at like fucking 15K subs consistently for like 2 years now, which is fucking insane, man.
He's been grinding, Tom. And if this is a Black Ops 1 list or Modern Warfare 3 list, he goes way higher in this list. It's just he didn't have as much of a longer career as some of these guys on this list. And that's why I think he slipped a little bit from some of the earlier versions that people were doing a couple of years ago. But I mean, the guy is going to be considered one of the godfathers in the Call of Duty scene, and I think he deserves that respect here.
He always will be. He always will be. Next one, Ben, is interesting. I think this one is going to cause a lot of controversy.
Might cause controversy.
Maybe. Listen, maybe this is a friendship list, Ben. Maybe it is.
No, this is not a friendship list.
No, listen. I agree with where this guy is. I agree where he is.
I argue this out with a lot of people. On where this one goes.
This guy is just not human. He's not human. When you watch him play,
that's an understatement.
Okay, listen. Just let him know who it is, because they're all spamming it in the chat anyway.
We got Stallion AK MC coming in at number 14. I think for me, kind of. And why MC's high.
He's too high.
And there are a couple other people that are kind of in a similar boat. His teammates and sort of how he did this list is what they've done in a short amount of time and how dominant they've been in 2.5 years. And if you think about some of the players below them, and they played longer, but they have had that dominant stretch for a shorter amount of time. And that's why I have MC here. I think people are going to spam FaZe Land, a bunch of other bullshit. That FaZe team is going to continue to be dominant, and he's going to own this spot in a year or two, and people are not going to think that this is a fire take.
Well, see, right there, what you just said is why I disagree with this list. You said, in the next year or two, he's going to own, he's going to show you guys. That's exactly why I don't think he should be up here, because I think he's going to be up here 100%. But he shouldn't be up here yet.
He's already up here, Tom.
Oh, of course. But the problem is you're putting him above somebody like TP, who's just won so many fucking championships. and a ring. You know, I know Selim is on that path. I just don't think he's there yet. It's the reason why we have Shotzi all the way at fucking 23. It's the reason why Illy's not here. You know, it's just kind of just like comparing him to people like that. Like he's young. He's so fucking young. But bro, to me, Selim's gonna be top 10, top 5 by the time he's fucking done. With the way he is, I mean,
his whole team might be
the
like
whole
half of
fucking
the top
team.
10.
Yeah, the whole fucking team,
Yeah.
which is usually how it goes, man. Right, where you see the Optic Dynasty, the Complexity Dynasty, like they're all up there. I think Cell's just a little too high right now, but I definitely I definitely think he's gonna be up there for sure. Maybe just replace him in TP, put him at 15 and TP at 14, maybe.
Listen, I went back and forth about where to put MC on this list and Shotzi on this list. But I feel pretty confident that MC's holding down that 14 spot. I think we should go to 13 because this is a player that was slept on in a lot of lists. And I was very, very surprised about where he was getting placed in some of
Ladies
these
and
lists.
gentlemen, it's my duo. It's the one and only Attach coming in at number fucking 13. Nameless said, where the fuck is Merc? Why is the Merc on his list? Nameless,
Merc's another player who just kind of ended up on the cut.
let me scroll back up to the criteria, Nameless, because you're not reading the criteria. We starting at Black Ops 2, Nameless. We started at Black Ops 2, so we're not counting like some of those early games. Definitely not counting MW3. But I definitely think Merc is one of those players too, like where you can argue he should be in the top 30, but it just gets really tricky when you see how much talent is on the table. But
Merc is very easily in the middle, if not top half of this list if I add in Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 1.
Yeah,
he goes way up on this list.
But why do you have Attached to number 13, Ben? Talk to me.
Dylan has been so good across so many titles, man. Like it's hard to count the amount of years that this guy has been good. And listen, he's been on some good teams. He's been some dominant teams, and he's been on some okay teams. But he's always been really consistent. Guy can run a sub. Guy can run an AR. He's a good SMD player. He's a good respawn player.
Nameless, if you're saying this is not an all-time list, then I'm counting every single gold that I have on GameBattles.com online. We're gonna count those too. So I have 75 championships with all the fucking golds that I won online. If we're counting MW3 and all that other shit, I got 75 chips, bro. You know, that's just the way I look at it. I think those games are a complete fucking, not a joke, but I don't think they're in the same caliber of Black Ops 2 onward. I just think COD hit a time and hit a different era where there was just so much talent, and competitive COD just hit like a whole different fucking, time period. I just feel like starting from Black Ops 2 just feels right, personally, when you're starting an all-time list. But again, you guys can have your own opinions on that. Listen, I love Joey D. I think Joey can easily be in the top 30. Maybe maybe some of those guys from like 20th to 30th. I think you could put Joey in there somewhere. As well as some other players like Proofy, Rambo, like a lot of those guys that Nameless had.
Proof is like a player I really want to put on this list, but it's just
starting from
hard.
Black Ops 2 onwards, it just changes things up a little bit. It really does. It changes.
You'd be surprised how many of these players have won more 1, 2, 3, 4 championships. Like I said, there are multiple people that have Call of Duty rings that didn't make this top 30. Like, bro, it has gotten way harder in the last couple of years to make this list. I didn't even include people like Cammy and Insight that have been very good for a year and a half. They didn't make this list. Like, it is very tough. But Tom, let's hop over to number 12.
Yeah, I want to talk about Attach a little bit more.
Okay.
For me, because I just want to show him some love because that's somebody that I played with. For those of you who didn't see the video I posted of me and Attach today on the timeline, go check it out. It was bringing tears down my fucking face. I miss playing with the kid. I think somebody like Dylan, man, is just one of those guys. He's just so icy, man. The way that he's able to clutch so many 1v1 situations, it's just like, he's got balls of steel, this fucking kid. He's one of those players that if you want to win, you want to Attach in your team because he knows how to get it done. And you saw that even recently, last year, the last 2 events of the year, they got first place in top 3, and Attach played phenomenal. He has a ring under his belt. He has multiple championships. I think he arguably could have been maybe the MVP too of when Clay got it in AW. But I think Clay in AW was a fucking animal too, right? It was just an argument, right? It could have been Dylan, could have been Clay, could have been either of them. But I'm happy to see Attach hit that 13th spot because I think he deserves it and he's a fucking beast. But then we go into number 12. And I like this one at number 12, Ben. I do.
Yeah, people put him a little bit lower on their list. I have Big Donk, AK Apathy, coming in at number 12. Another one of those players that was part of that phenomenal Black Ops 3 MV team. He's got a lot of different chips across a lot of different teams. He's got 2 rings. I just really like the career he had. And again, some of these guys maybe had better seasons the last couple of years. Everybody's saying 2 rings equal 12. You'd be mind blown at how many people, all but 2 players in the top 10 have 2 rings. And the 2 players that don't have 2 rings, you'll be like, well, it is what it is. But App's right on the edge here. I think 12, 11, and 10 were really hard to put an order in. I was debating back and forth the order of those 3 players. App definitely needs to be up there in the elite SMG conversation on this list.
Yeah, I think, again, he's an SMG player who was just had such an impact on the map. He was just one of those players that when he hit donk mode, we all know fucking donk mode. You're not touching him. If he gets into that rhythm of donk mode and he hits that level, you're just going to die. Because you know what he brings to the table, not just as a player, but as a teammate. People know App's a good guy, and everybody always loved playing with him. I think he had an amazing career, and it was definitely sad to see him take a step back. I think he's going to do amazing things in the content world. I mean, he's almost at 5K subs already, and he's been doing his thing, man. Even in Warzone and shit, you could clearly just see that he still has the talent. It's still there, but somebody like Apathy, he just has a decorated career, man. 2 rings is something to be super proud of. That's something that I haven't achieved. I haven't gotten a ring, and I look back all the time and wish I could have got it. So for Apathy, he deserves to be up here on this list just because of the accolades and how fucking successful he's been. So Big Donk coming in at number 12. I like that, Ben. And number 11, Ben.
Yeah, coming in at number 11. He's in the chat. He's been on a lot of amazing teams over the years. Guys, Mr. Robot. Has a ring, has a lot of championships. I got Slasher coming in number 11 here.
Mr. Slasherlytical. This guy, not only does he play COD professionally, but he has a fucking degree in college. A lot of us didn't go to college. I dropped out of college because I was a moron. Ended up going, but this guy, he did both. He went to fucking college. He went to fucking pro scene. I mean, a lot of people are saying question marks and shit. I mean, I'm looking at the top 10 right now. I mean, the top 10 is stacked, bro. Completely fucking stacked. We're going to keep going through this list.
The top 10 was a lock for me. I would love for people to try and argue who should have been out of this top 10.
I think maybe things can get argued with this next one, like maybe interchanging those two.
This one maybe, but like...
Other than that, no. I wouldn't change it for anybody else.
I don't actually know about this next one. I just think longevity plays more of a factor in this next one. But Austin's had an incredible career. He's still playing, and he's on a, if Austin can get a couple of more championships here, has a great next season or 2, bro, he's jumping quite a few people on this list.
You see Nameless? He goes, Austin, I think you might be overrated a little bit, low key. He said,
right,
you're a fucking moron. But I like seeing Lytical here. Again, if you're looking at roles and you're looking at main AR players, he's definitely a top AR of all time. Top 3, top 5, wherever you want to put him. Like, he's up there. It's just what he brings to a team. The leadership is something that sticks out to me the most. If you fit into Slasher's system and you listen to him and let him run the show, that's where he shines the best. And I think with this LAG team, with Hook, Asum, a couple young guys. Hook is still so young, by the way, which still blows my mind. Like, I feel like he's been here for so long, but he's only like fucking 21. I think Slasher's really going to do big things with this LAG squad, and he's going to really turn this season around compared to his last couple years, So I'm excited to see Slasher get back into the swing of things. It's nice to see you in the chat, Austin. I hope you're having a good off season, and I hope you're ready to grind, Kane. But Slasher comes in at our top, at number 11 in our top 30 all-time COD list. Let's go into number 10, Ben.
The number 10 on the list, we've got a guy who is someone who back in the day, you'd open your phone, and you're seeing, he likes some tweets.
He likes some tweets? Is that what you're saying?
Some tweets of some ladies on the timeline quite often.
Oh,
that was kind of a gimmick and a meme.
Is that where you were going with?
They did a lot of Twitter game.
Okay, we might as well just put it there.
Outside the Twitter game, man, like, had an incredible career. He's now obviously coaching and working the front office. But as a player, he's got multiple rings, a lot of championships. I had JCap coming in at number 10.
Hey, JCap comes in at number 10, obviously super decorated, multiple events. Like you said, he has 2 rings to his name, was one of those players who was just so fundamentally sound. I mean, Nameless even said this in his video.
Yeah.
When it comes to just playing COD the right way, I mean, JCap was just one of those guys that everybody just had so much respect for because fundamentally he was just so good. So to have JCap at number 10 and to see him in the top 10 doesn't surprise me at all. And we're not even counting Black Ops 1, which I think was his best game.
J Cap, if I had previous games here, goes
he
in
might even go higher.
And
Yeah.
Austin, I see you in the chat, bro. I had the hardest time on how to do you and Cap. Like just know like it was literally almost down to a coin flip. Like,
Well,
that's kind of where it got to.
Slasher, here, I'm gonna send you the new password to the TeamSpeak, Slasher, and you could come join in and you could come give your.
I want to have Austin. Let's do the rest of the 10, and I want to have Austin come in because I want to talk a little bit more about like why I think this exercise fucking sucks and how we should do it better. I want to have
Sounds
Austin come in
good.
and talk about that.
Sounds good. I know Austin also wanted to, had some other things that he wanted to say on the flank. I don't know if we were gonna dedicate an episode to Austin, but it'll be cool to have him come in and get his thoughts on his top 30 list. But Ben, J-Cap comes in at number 10. Now things get really interesting.
This gets really interesting.
Austin is about to he's about to join this TeamSpeak raging when he hears number 9, Ben.
The number 9 would probably be number 6 on this list if the last year didn't happen, purely because of the players that are going to be in front of him. You guys see, the player I have here is probably one of the OG villains we have in Call of Duty, a member of that Dynasty Complexity team. Probably like one of the most unexpected COD champs. I don't think anyone had his team winning that World War II year. I definitely didn't see it coming, but you got to tip it. He won. I got Aches coming in number 9.
Patty P coming in at number 9. I'd have Slasher over Patty P. Me personally, I'd put Slasher above him. I think Aches is a very smart player. He's won multiple championships. Would definitely like to have him in my top 10. I personally would go J-Cap, Aches, and then Slasher, personally.
You think you'd flip it that way?
Yeah. But Aches comes in at number 9. And I think we just got to show a little bit of respect to Ace. I know he hasn't been around the last couple of years. He hasn't really been doing his thing. The World War II championship really struck, was unbelievable. That motherfucker stole my ring. I can't believe it. Aches came in. He won a ring. Nameless is all fucking confused. Nameless, where the fuck would you put him if you're
Let's jump to the next thing, Tom. I want to do the next 3 players all together because it's going to explain why I put Pat at number 9 here, and again why I think this exercise is so hard. So my next 3 players in this reverse order, so it goes from 8 to 6. I had a BZ at 8, Arcees at 7, and Simp at 6. And let me explain that order. First off, as a group, why are they above Pat? Well, we'll just look at the last 2.5, 3 years and how dominant all 3 of those players have been and being the number 1 or number 2 team in the game for most of that time. Almost 3 years, Tom.
The only argument that people are gonna have is Aches just has so many fucking chips, bro. He has.
These 3 guys are gonna, when they're gonna be done, are gonna end up with that many chips. It's about that length, man. And listen, like there were a lot of events in Black Ops 2. Obviously, the Complexity Dynasty was great. Pat was phenomenal in Ghosts. But what Simpa, BZ, and RCs have done is incredible. Now, I think a lot of people are going to take exception with this order of players, so let me explain. I think Simp being a number 6 to me is like, he's undeniable. I think he's very much in the path to being on the top 3 of this list over a very short period of time.
Well, if anybody's saying that Aches should be over Simp, is fucking Simp and BZ should be over Aches without a doubt. Bro, they average a top 2 place. Their average placing in their first 2 years of the league is top 2. They have 2 rings already. They made it
since he's come in the league, since Simp has come in the league, he's legitimately been on top 2, top 3 teams.
He's just
straight 3 years.
But you also got to give it to Aches too, because when he first came in, he was doing crazy shit too.
Which is why if I added Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 1, like this list changes a lot.
No, even after that. I mean, Black Ops 2. Look at what Patty P was doing. He was on a dynasty, Ben.
It makes it really hard.
See, this is the only argument I have to you, Ben, is that some of these guys like RCD's, a BZ Simp, they're gonna be top 10. They are. But as of right now, I just don't think you could put them above them. Just because
they've been good for three straight years, and they're on a trajectory to maybe go back to back here. They won 2 of the 3 last COD champs. For Simp and BZ, they made the finals in the other. People are gonna say recency bias. Like, competition's really hard now. These guys are dominating this era right now with a lot of players. I think putting Alec over a BZ, it was purely the IW year for me, is why I have Alec over Tyler.
It's not, it's not me saying that I think Pat is better than Alec, a BZ, and Simp. That's not what I'm saying. I think Alec, a BZ, and Simp are like top 3, some of the best COD players I've ever seen in my life. I just think when we're debating about the current list, I just don't know if it makes sense, because you're just looking at Aches' accolades and what he was able to do in his career. It was incredible, and he's definitely
I had a hard time, Tom. I had him higher, and then I was just trying to think about where I put these Atlanta FaZe players.
Well, man,
it's
really tough. Of course, it's really tough, but that's gonna do it for our top 20 or our
top 6.
one. Yeah, that's gonna do it.
Top 5 is a lock for me. If anyone tries to argue that any of these players are not in the top 5, I'd be fucking mind blown.
I agree with your top 5.
Simp maybe is the one where, like, after maybe next year, if he wins another ring, you kind of toss him in this conversation. But this top 5 is like. This top 5 is like a lock. As close to a lock as it's going to get.
Okay, so let's just put the top 5 in right now. Let's just put them all in now. At number 5, we have Formal.
Yeah.
At number 4, we have Clay.
Yeah.
At number 3, we have Damon Barlow, Karma the GOAT. At number 2, we have Scump.
Yeah.
And at number 1, we have Crimsix.
So I got a couple of things to explain here.
This was my top 5. This is my top 5 that I was saying 2 days ago. I just think, I personally I don't think you can argue this top 5. The only thing that you can argue from this top 5, the only thing is maybe changing Clay and Karma. That's about it.
But my argument against that is the mid jetpack years, those Black Ops 3, IW years, a little bit of World War II. Like, that's where I put Karma over Clay. I really wanted to put Clay higher on this list, but that's just kind of how that shuffles out over the last couple of years. Clay over Formal over Clay, that's the fucking argument of all time, and people will still be debating in 10 years of who's the better player. But I think with Clay in the last year, I think that argument from my POV is sort of settled. Crim at the top of the list is a lock. I think Scump and what he's done as an SMG player consistently from year to year to year puts him at number 2. I could see the arguments for Damon at number 2, but Scump's continue to just kind of keep going after some of these players have retired. So that's why I had Scump over him.
Listen, man, I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm going to cut right to the chase because Nameless is in the fucking chat saying, hell nah, this and that. Nameless had Scump at number 4. Personally, you look at this top 5 on paper. If you put all of them down on paper during their primes and you're choose one for your team, I'm choosing Scump every day of the week. And that's why I have him at number 2. Not only is Scump a top 5 player in accolades, but he's doing it as a submachine gun player. And for Scump to be up here with all these names as a submachine gun player just goes to show why he's the king of COD. I just personally think having Scump any lower than top 2, top 3 is disrespectful. In my opinion, I don't see how that can even be a possibility. I just think the way he impacts a map, the things that he does, the slaying ability, his stats, his accolades, everything. There's a reason why he's a fan favorite. And for me, I'm putting him in my top 2. The reason why I can't put him at number 1 is just because Crimsix is just one too much. He just continues to do it year after year, no matter who he's playing with, just always finds ways to win. And I think that's just because he brings that winning mentality and talent to a team. While I do think Scump is more talented than Crimsix, I think Crimsix just brings the type of aura that nobody else really can. And just brings that winning mentality to a team, as well as all 5 of these players do that, right?
I mean, for me, Tom, it's the Modern Warfare year, it's Black Ops 2, it's Ghost, are the 3 seasons why I think I put Crim over Scump here.
Hey, listen, man, I think Porter's a fucking moron. I'm just playing. So for me to put him at number 1, it's saying a lot. I wouldn't touch the top 5. This is the top 5 I've been saying since Nameless's list. This was my top 5 since day 1. I think Simp's
the only player I think that's got a shot in the next year or two to probably crack this top 5. But I think this top 5 or majority of this top 5 is going to hold for a long time. I hope Damon's maybe the one player here that might get disrespected over time, and I fucking hope not, because people maybe don't understand the impact and the contributions he made on all his teams. But Austin, with you coming in here, I did this exercise and I had a really hard time, and it made me realize one kind of overarching thing, which is it is very hard for one person to do these top 30 lists. And I totally understand now when you look at publications like Rolling Stone, right, and they do top 300 albums. In order to really do this exercise right, you need to get a panel of like 20, 25, 30, even more people. Take the list, do a point system to really actually get the list, because everybody's going to have different opinions on skill and longevity and this, that, and that. And it's so fucking objective that the middle of these lists just become very difficult.
Is Austin here?
Yo, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Austin. Austin, give us your
perfect.
initial thoughts on this list of a 1 to 10, 10 being good, 1 being shit. What would you rank it?
Somewhere in the middle, probably.
Okay.
Dude, it's tough. Making a list like this is really hard.
It is hard as fuck. It's hard.
But there needs to be certain rules and guidelines you stick to. I don't know if you did that here. You have the things, the criteria, but I don't know. To me, it's just like,
That's how I felt with Nameless's list too. I just felt he didn't stick to the criteria.
Yeah,
Joe's in
I
the
mean-
chat. Joe, you are actually number, like, I literally, there are rows hidden here. You are legitimately number 31. But like,
Yeah, I mean,
Austin,
Joey D wouldn't even be argued if we were doing before Black Ops 2.
Austin, I'm telling you, it's just like, first off, I didn't realize how many people like have won more than like 2 events in Call of Duty. Like the number of people with more than 2 event wins, and we're talking like premier events, like real lands, the number is close to like the mid 30s. People that have number 2 wins. So a lot of people that have won 1 ring and gotten like a 1 champ, and they've been on some like teams where they were hard carrying it, they're just gonna get like super disrespected in this exercise, which fucking sucks.
well, you also need to wait eras, in my opinion, and people who transition through eras, because COD was boots, jetpacks, flight canceling, boots again, all like who was good, like, you know, certain things like that
Who
should matter.
adapted the
Online
best.
events should not hold the same weight as LAN events, in my opinion. Like, for instance, one of these names that pops out to me, I feel like gets kind of disrespected on this list, is Josiah. Like, bro, for like 5 or 6 years or whatever it was, the Optic Dynasty was running the scene.
Yeah.
He was the single player outside of that team with the highest placings on LAN for 5 or 6 years.
So
Like,
if
how
you
is
were,
he 28?
if where would you put Josiah on this list? Where would you have him?
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to sit down.
Probably around
and
like
actually,
15 to 20
I feel
with
like
me.
he's way higher than 28,
Sook,
though.
John. Yeah, no, I think Slide can be higher. I think Slide can be higher just because.
I had a lot of issues on where to put Jerry in this list because I've also seen him get disrespected in these top 30s and not included, and that blew my mind because your reasons, like, bro, I used to sit here on my lunch break and watch Jerry grind 8s every single afternoon for months at a time. This guy had one of the highest work ethics in the league, and that's why his teams in those middle jetpack years showed. I think my other kind of thesis, and I've sort of talked about sometimes on the show, and why I think this exercise is also hard is, in professional sports, you have these generational cycles, right? Every 5 or 6 or 7 years, you have a new wave of generational talent come in and they sort of wash over. In esports, it almost happens on like sort of a micro level over the course of a year or 2 or 2 or 3. And it's almost because like people are still learning what it takes to be like a consistent top performer in esports. The metagames change. Call of Duty's got an extremely unique problem where the game changes every single year. So it makes this whole exercise so hard because, to your point, Austin, I just don't know, like, from like a real quantifiable standpoint, like how do you actually stack up the eras? Like, I almost think you have to do this as sort of a point system, but like, how do you assign those points?
I think it's really hard to avoid being, like, having recency bias, because I also think there's a little bit of that in this list. Like,
But the phase guys.
I mean, yeah, but like they will probably eventually end up there. And I think you were saying like trajectory of their career. You can't like do that, in my opinion, when you're making a list. You're making a list on today, whatever the date is, October 12th
I
or
agree
whatever.
with that. I agree
And
with
it
that.
should be from here in the past. That's it. You're not talking about, oh, well, if Celium goes on to win next year, he's going to be here. Like, no, that doesn't matter. Like, you know what I
I
mean?
agree.
To be fair,
That was my argument too.
So the way the criteria is listed here, just to give context, is also in the order of how I break ties. So trajectory is kind of low on the list. I just kind of used it in terms of when to break like weird situations of ties using heads-to-heads. I also hated that people kind of ranked it based on chips. Like, I didn't like that order either. That's why, again, there's a couple of people who maybe have won more than others but are lower on the list. It comes down to like their contribution on teams that were really at the top. And I know people are going to beef at the MC pick, but you know, you ask around the league and what people think about MC and the contributions he's made since he's joined the league. To me, that kind of put him in the middle.
No,
of this.
100%. Everyone thinks MC's really good right now. We're not. He could be top 5 player right now. You know what I mean? Like, but the thing is did he do more in his career so far than like John?
I mean, he's basically done the same accomplishments as John.
And also, like, one of the seasons he played in was scrapped kind of online. Like, that's not his fault, but it's like, does that weigh the same as...
He went to LAN and won MVP.
Correct, but...
I mean, Cell has the same accomplishments as John in half the time.
But, like, John was also a top player for double the games.
I mean, Black Ops 3, he was a top player. Where else was he? I mean, you have Black Ops 3 and then...
On the trajectory Cell is on, he will pass John. There's no debate there. The fact is as of right now, is he?
That's the hardest part of doing this exercise because,
you know
like,
I'm
gonna be honest, I personally think he is past John now.
I think that's not waiting longevity enough.
You think so? I mean, I just feel like ignore longevity right now. I mean, he's just done everything that John's done in half the time. You know, he's done everything that everybody
But like
in that.
that's only factoring team accomplishments.
First
like
of all,
John was a top player.
MC
like,
MC
MC's
should
got
not.
individual accomplishments
MC
too.
should not
No,
be
I didn't
above
say he
TP.
didn't.
That's for sure. He should not be above TP. I don't think MC. Not yet. Listen, I like Ben. I like where your head was at with the phase guys, but I just think that they need more time. Which, bro, they're gonna.
What do you want them to do? They've been a top 2 team for 3 straight years. That's insane.
Yeah, I know.
It's actually insane.
Ben, nobody's taking that away from FaZe. Like, bro, FaZe is gonna be in the top 10 all time. They're gonna be. You're just making a list. We're making a list top 30
now because of that.
We're making a list right now, top 30 all time as of right now.
So hold on. Let's argue this out. Chris Simp to me has got to be in this top 6, 7.
Simp and Abizi, I don't want to touch, or Arcees, honestly.
I think the Alec disrespect I've seen.
You guys don't think Pat should be higher?
That was my problem with Pat, because
Really?
I look at like Simp, Abizi, and Alec and their accomplishments as a trio, and that's why I put them together. But that's the difference between Pat being 9 and being 6 was sort of my issue.
So you would put Pat at 6, Austin, and then have the FaZe guys
Probably.
coming after him?
Yeah, probably.
I can see the argument just because of how many times he's won. How many championships does he have? 19? It was 19, right? 18 or 19, it's around there.
If you count all the.
It's just like I also
He's won too much.
Pre-Black Ops 2 a little bit. Like, you guys didn't count it at all, but like I think it should count for something. Like, Pat was dominant and kind of running the scene for years. Like, okay, FaZe have done that too, but Pat did it for longer.
Yeah, that's what it, Ben. That's what I was saying, Ben. You're talking about FaZe in the last 3 years, but a lot of these guys did that too. Like, Pat did that, TP did that, fucking like some guys that you have FaZe over then did that, and they did more than that as well. So it's just hard for an all-time list to have like some of these FaZe guys so high. Not because I don't think, like, bro, I think these FaZe guys are gonna end up possibly, maybe even in the top 5,
even higher.
Yeah, even
the
higher.
Trajectory on there now, they could be the 1, 2, 3.
Bro, Simp can be number 1 within the next 2-3 years. You know,
but you can't account for trajectory. That's just like a what if.
Listen,
I think it's more of a immediate trajectory. I think my other issue too with this list, and it's maybe controversial with some of the old heads, but I think the competition is way better now than it was in the Black Ops 2 era. Look at the depth of the top 8. I mean, go look at the depth of the top 8s at some of those events and look at it now.
Okay, you say that, but like
IW.
You rated someone like Josiah at 28, but his competition was the top 4 of all-time players, top 5, then me, App, and John as well. So he was playing against the top 20 all-time players in most of the matches for championships.
I mean, to be fair though, everybody in front of him was playing against him too.
Yeah.
Everybody in front of Josiah was playing against those players too.
I get that, but like he did it for way longer than some of the people above him.
The difficulty of this exercise is I personally would love for someone to figure out how do you even like justify how you weigh the different eras of Call of Duty, because it's even harder than like professional sports. You look at something like the NBA, and you can kind of split into sort of 4 different eras. Call of Duty, you got 3 or 4 different eras over the course of like 10 years.
Bro, but
it's
okay,
actually
for
wild.
instance, like Shotzi's at 23, Josiah's at 28. Shotzi played for 2 years. Josiah was on top for 6.
Yeah, Shotzi.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
listen, your Shotzi at 23 was a little weird to me, Ben, because then where's Illy then? You know,
it's not even about the specific person. Like, I think Shotzi eventually will keep climbing the list. It's just as of right now, this date, like Josiah I feel like deserves to be higher for the longevity of his career.
My thing with Josiah is I think they won in a lot of those games. The reason I put Shotzi at 23 is I think he's on a trajectory to move up this list so fucking high,
Ben, you can't say it like that, Ben.
But Tom, Shotzi,
you gotta stop saying that shit, Ben.
Shotzi's in a top 5, top 7 player in the last couple of years.
I understand
consistently.
that, but you gotta stop saying that because Aches was top fucking 2 when he was playing in his first 3-4 years. It's an all-time list.
That's where I think some of the recency bias
That's why the error. That's why I'm saying the error thing's hard.
Ben, you know me. I love the FaZe guys. I fucking love them. You fucking what?
That's my difficulty in this exercise and why the
first thing hard. It's hard. It's not.
I thought this is a dumb. I see a lot of banter on Twitter, and I'm glad that people are watching the show. But like, I did this exercise, and I'm like, wow, this is a complete waste of my time, because I feel like the only way to really do a top 30 list is not a panel of 5 people. You really kind of need a panel of 50 people. You need a lot of people. People are going to have different subjective metrics in how they determine these lists, and when you have enough of a sample size, it'll kind of even out. And that's sort of the difficulty of this, man.
Listen, man, Nameless said that his list was fire. Nameless, your list was fucking
His list
garbage.
was also bad. Yeah,
your list was fucking trash. From 15 to 30, I don't even know what you were thinking. It had to be one of the worst lists I've ever seen, to be honest. Now, listen, from 1 to 15, I'll give it to you, Ant, but the rest, half the list was complete fucking fugazi. It just was. And that's my honest opinion. But go ahead, Austin. I didn't mean to cut you off right there.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say his list was also bad. I just think that Ben is taking into account like trajectory, and he's weighing like he has some recency bias in his list. Because this is basically your list, right, Ben?
Yes, this is basically
This is Ben's list, and then he made it. I think some other people in the TeamSpeak helped him out with it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it is tough to do.
I've never people just make straw arguments for me was sort of my thought process in here. But I having done this exercise, like I said, like this, even like the Halo thing, like that Halo list had a lot of controversy. These are so hard. I think the only real locks everybody's gonna have in their list is probably the top 6 players on this list. If anyone doesn't have this top 6, I would love to understand.
I think people would put Pat still, low key.
Pat over Chris. I mean that's the only one where it depends on kind of how you're valuing that. But Chris has got 2 rings now. Chris has come in and basically just been top 2 for 3 straight years. So that's kind of a really tough
nobody's
argument.
downplaying his. That's what I'm not trying. I'm not trying to sit here and downplay the phase's dominance. That's not at all what I'm trying to do. Everyone can agree here. Those kids have been disgusting. It's just I value longevity a lot, and they just haven't been around long enough to do. You know what I mean? Like eventually they will get there. They'll keep playing on the trajectory they're on. Tim could be number 1.
Yeah, you just can't talk about the future, Ben. You can't. Because that's just
that's
not how it works.
That's why it's a third tiebreaker in this list. It's not the main metric. My main metric was players and their consistent contribution of a team that was a contender, not like hey, my team plays second. I play second a couple of times over the course of a few years. It's just kind of hard to do the ranking on this list, man. Like, I think people are going to have a lot of different thoughts, especially in the middle of this list. I think that's where the subjectivity really comes into play. Again, why I think in order to really do this exercise correctly, first off, someone's got to figure out how to rank all these eras. And maybe you almost got to do it like you do list by eras, and it's pointed out, and that's how the metric's done. I personally don't have an idea on a good approach on how to do this.
Listen, man, there's a few things just looking through the list that I would definitely change because I told you, Ben, after you're done with your list and we get it all finalized, I definitely want to change some things up. One of them being Gunless. I think Gunless can be a little bit higher. What do you think, Austin? Do you think Gunless should be a bit higher than 21, or do you like him there? He's a tough one. I like Gunless just because he does it all. He just runs every gun. He's a flex. He's just he's an MVP type caliber player.
Would you put him above Ian? See, I feel like
it's hard.
Dude, I don't know. Is Ian have a more accomplished career than like a Josiah or something? I
mean, Josiah should be higher. I think Slack should be higher.
I feel like that's
sure.
one of the I don't know.
But
like, I feel like Josiah's last few years obviously have been rough, but
if you're putting Slack higher, you moving Nicola up too. I feel like Nicola and Slack kind of go hand in hand here.
They do.
Like,
I don't know. Dude, like I said, it is hard to do. I would have to sit down and have the names in front of me and have a
and
like
then
rules.
If you move Slack and Nicky D up, then you're bumping down people like Kenny, Priesta, Gunless, Ian. The only one, like, bro, Shotzi at 23, I understand it, but I don't think Shotzi should be up there yet. I don't think he should be up there yet. If we're talking about like fucking, I mean, bro, he's only been playing for what?
He would have been up there if Dallas had a better year this year. I think he would be up there. I just think there are difficulties this year, or what kind of stopped his growth up this list. Dallas is on, like, Dallas and FaZe were probably the 2 teams last year, other than Toronto, kind of, especially at the end of the season, who were like really just kind of running everybody's power rankings and winning all the events. I know Chicago had a couple of wins here and there. But their head-to-heads with Dallas and FaZe were kind of really tough. I think Shotzi, I agree. I think Shotzi's going to be up there, but I had to throw some respect his way, man. I saw him on a couple of these lists.
You do.
And it's so hard.
Yeah, someone in the chat also brought up a good question. How is Celium 10 above Shotzi? Haven't they had pretty similar careers?
My criteria for MC and why I had him higher here was basically this year.
So you think this year put him all the way up there? I like selling him up on the list. I don't know if he should be above somebody like TP yet, just because TP is like super decorated.
Are we forgetting how good MC played at champs this year? Are we just gonna like just kind of?
No, we're not. But
no, bro.
I'm just waiting longevity more.
I mean,
MC,
Personally, that's how I would do it.
Ben, if we're going off of this year, then Shotzi's top 5. You know, then you're moving Shotzi. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but you're misunderstanding what I'm saying then, though.
well, what are you trying to say?
Well, like, my point with like MC, man, is like, let's take a look at this crew, right? He comes in, Black Ops 4, obviously a shitty situation with not qualifying. Then we kind of had that FC Black team. Obviously, they're just kind of world-starring amateurs. They're basically the Harlem Globetrotters of the Challenger scene, fine. And then sort of that last phase team kind of comes together. Yeah, I know MC had some rocky series in Black Ops for that Optic series, but I'm going to remember the fact that MC dropped 54 for the L in COD Champs. He actually had insane stats in the last 2 events of that season. And then you go into the next game, and we're just going to sit there and just sleep on MC stats last year. FaZe obviously come up short.
Who's sleeping on MC next year? Who the fuck's
nobody's
sleeping on?
I just said him and Shotzi are pretty comparable over the last 2 years, are they not?
In terms of straight stats?
Just accomplishments, everything.
I think
off the board.
From my POV, I personally think this year is the difference between the two. You have to look at FaZe was
dominant. But do you think he's 10 spots above him difference? That's how much better he was.
But that's how close it is, Austin. Like, that's the metric between all these players. It just comes down to 1 year.
He needs more time, Ben. He needs more time.
I wish it was like the NBA where we had 100 years, 9 years, 80 years to compare people, but it's so fucking hard when we're looking at 6 or 7 years and it's microcycles. It makes, like I said, this exercise was dumb. I had a big difficult time doing it.
Oh,
and
it's not dumb. It's fun, honestly.
No, it gets people talking.
It gets people talking, which is good because listen, man, and that just goes to show like how talented like some of these guys really are. It's so close, like it's so hard. I think no matter what, you're gonna have people who love the list and people who hate the list. It's the same with Nameless's
list. You're never
list.
gonna get it right, bro. You're always gonna have people. Why is this person? It's always gonna be that way. But I think another thing too, Ben, that you're missing on some of these players is someone like MC has only played in one era. He's only played the slide cancel era. He probably would have been disgusting on.
MC would have been disgusting in Jetpacks.
Yeah, nobody's saying that, but he didn't play it. So how do you like? Whereas these other players below him transitioned from boots to jetpacks to slide cancel and were good at all of them.
He's got a good point, Ben. He's got a good point.
The list is going to fluctuate, man. I think MC's on the path to hold down that spot pretty well. We'll see what the next couple of years kind of go from there.
Nobody's denying that. Yeah. What he's going to do in the next couple of years. Nobody's denying that. We're just making a top 30 list as of right now. Fucking October 12th, 2021. We're making a top 30 list. And I'm honestly I'm on the same page as Austin here. I just think if you're looking at longevity, that's just completely different. And if that's the case, if we're making a list on what we think the top 30 is going to be in 5 years, then sure, then I fuck with it.
But the trajectory MC's on is even higher than 14. In fact, you know what I mean? Like the last 2 years, he's even higher, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Think about that, right? I understand the Teep over MC argument. I understand that. Are we going to say that Sam should be on this list above MC?
No, but I should be over Sam. That's for sure. That
comes like you guys. The tough thing with this exercise that I figured out is you put someone in a spot and you're like, oh shit, I need to add this person, and you suddenly start doing the 1v1s to move people farther down the list, and you realize then how hard and how subjective this whole exercise is.
I mean, I would put John above MC. I'd put. Sam might be above MC because it's still longevity. Like you said, he's been a top 5 AR.
You'd put John above MC?
Yeah, right now because of longevity.
Austin loves John, though. You love John.
Well, I just think he had like a good 5-6 year period where he was like a top 5 sub every game.
If that's the case, then I should be up there, Ben. What the fuck kind of shit list is this, Ben? I should be top 12. You're right, Austin. You're absolutely right.
Bro.
What the fuck? Nah, but hey, listen, I think regardless, I think this list is way better than Nameless's list, for sure. I think you hit the top 5 on a nose. I think from 6 through 30, I think gets really difficult. The whole list is hard. It really is. It's not easy to do. A couple things, Zinni's going to be mad, Ben. Why didn't you put Zinni on the list?
Where do you want me to put Zin on this list? I love that, but like I said, like...
There's a spot right behind Merc at 32.
Yeah, you're right. Should I slide him in there?
Slide him in there.
Let's slide him in there.
Let's talk about players like... There are players that didn't make the list that I was like mind blown. Like people like Lamar did not make this list. I could not figure out how to put Lamar in the top 30 in this list. Merc, I could not figure out how to put Merc in the top 30 in this list. That was super fucking difficult.
regardless, man.
Parasite didn't make this list, man.
Pat just texted me too. I mean, he said the same thing I was kind of saying earlier. He was like, we had to play through multiple different eras. The FaZe guys have only played through one so far.
Bro,
Like, that should count for
what is
something.
the deal with Pat? Is he some fucking FBI super spy or some shit? He can't.
He's always watching, bro.
He's always lurking, but he never says anything ever.
He's
like,
lurking, bro.
hey, Patty P,
What's
what
up,
the
Pat?
fuck are you
Appreciate you
doing?
watching the
He
show.
never even retired. Is he still competing?
This would have been a good one to have him on, bro.
Hey, Pat is still competing, bro. He's still in there. You never know. He's trading stocks today, but tomorrow he might be on a team. You know him. He's probably the fucking leader of that DC spot that might be coming in. You don't even know.
But who's a player I wanted to put on this list and again couldn't figure out how to put him on this list, and I feel disrespectful for not including him. Nato.
Yeah, Nato's another
Nato's
one
got a
you
lot of
can.
wins in his career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
Nato was a top player in GOATS.
Hey,
I could not find a way
bro.
to put him in the
He's
top
another
30.
one that you can fucking probably argue to put in here somewhere. Maybe. Who's fucking is this? You adding? Who's adding all these names? Who
Yeah,
Who
these are
is
just a
this?
sample. I just want to show these are a sample of names. I just had no idea
okay,
where to put.
okay.
TJ was another player I tried to put in the top 30. Like, was super hard. Nade shot. I feel bad for disrespecting Nade, but it was super hard to put him in the top 30 in this. Zen's in here. Like, there are a lot of players. Killa's not on this list. Like, there are a lot of players that have expanded the eras probably make it. It's just really, really tough, man. It's just how competitive and how deep the talent is now in Call of Duty and success that different players have had over the course of different eras of Call of Duty.
Yeah, listen, regardless, I think the list is in a pretty good spot where people can argue and give their own opinions and say what they need to say. I think
Pat said, what's the TS password? He
oh,
wants in.
yeah, give it to him,
There
bro.
we
Yeah,
go.
get Patty P
There
in
we
here. I
go.
want to see what Patty P has to say. Because you know Patty P, he's going to come in here and he's going to say a lot of shit. But I definitely, if I'm going to say anything about like all the positives about the list, I like it. I like the list, man. I saw some people saying, Tommy keeps turning on Ben. I'm not turning on Ben. I like the list, honestly. I do. I think the only problem with the list is recency bias. I think that's it. I think what Austin said, I think that's like the only problem is like maybe we're thinking too far ahead with it, with some of the names that are up at the top. But I think like especially like after this upcoming year, we could see a list looking more and more like this. Like I definitely,
dude, if FaZe has another good year, I think this conversation is
if
going to be
FaZe
hilarious
has
in
another
retrospect.
good, if FaZe has another good year, man, I mean, all of them are gonna be like really high up there, like really high, because they just, bro, like they're gonna have over $1 million in earnings.
They lost 7 series this year, right? Was it 7 or 5?
I mean, they have an average placing of top 2.
It's actually insane.
And bro, there were still certain people who were, even criticizing it and saying they're not even a dynasty. Bro, they're a dynasty in my eyes. Like everybody's trying to beat FaZe. A dynasty to me is a team.
I don't think they're a dynasty.
I think they're a dynasty personally. I think if every team in the league is trying to build their team around beating these guys because they're that dominant, that means they're a dynasty. And you're trying to take down the big dogs. And to me, Atlanta FaZe, especially if they come out in this in this next game, Vanguard, and win the first event or win the first 2 events, bro, they are a dynasty. How are they not? They're dominating the league. And keep in mind that the league right now is also the most competitive we've ever seen it. It's insane. I mean, you're looking at all the rumored rosters on paper right now going into Vanguard, and I'm telling you right now, a lot of people keep saying COD's dead, COD's dying. No, you're a bunch of morons. COD is in the best state it's ever been. The competition is fucking insane. If you're a real COD fan, if you love the game of COD, ignore all personalities in the scene, ignore like some of the big dogs, taking a step back and stuff and people losing their love for it. If you're a fan of COD and competitive COD, we're going to have one of the best seasons we've ever had going into Vanguard. It's going to be fucking really exciting. And I'm really excited to fucking have it all play out and see where it all ends up. But I'm fucking so excited for this. I see a lot of people saying Sharp, Neslo, Theory, Gunjar. I mean, who are you replacing them for?
We'll place them on this list.
Who are you replacing them for? Because I don't see any of those guys taking anybody's spot right now
Someone
in this
said
top
Moho.
30.
Yeah, if we did Black Ops 1, Moho's on this list. Like, dude, I'm telling you this.
He is? Even if we counted Black Ops 1, Moho's not on this
Add-
list.
add him-
Get
add
the
Modern
fuck
Warfare
out of
3,
here.
Modern
No,
Warfare
get the
3,
fuck
let's
out.
sort it out.
We haven't heard from Moho in 9 years. We
Not
haven't.
on
He's
this
not
list.
done anything in years. He had what the fuck? He had the Moho jump.
I want to toss it out there because I know it's.
He had the Moho jump that everybody fucking. You will give him the Moho. Remember that
People
shit?
think Rambo, and that was the same problem I had with Rambo's another player that ended up like on the cut line on this list. How do I justify putting Rambo over like Ben Vance? It is why.
Well, if you don't count any pre-BO2, you can't, in my opinion.
That's the difficulty I had. It's like my biggest thing, Austin. I don't know how you felt. Is like I felt like if I did BO1, then I had to include Modern Warfare 3, and then Modern Warfare 3's year was so weird that I felt like then it just threw everything out of whack. It was really hard, and I just decided
MW's year was super weird,
I just
but we count that.
people use rings as a lot of how they talk about people. I don't necessarily always agree with that, but fine, whatever. That I felt we should start with the quote unquote COD champs era, which is what we're in right now. And that's why I decided to start with Black Ops 2. I was going to call it like the Codcaster era, but that's a lame ass name.
Well,
so I walked that back.
ladies and gentlemen, I want us all to welcome the one and only a legend to the Call of Duty scene. Everybody welcome Patty P, aka Eggs. What's going on, Patty P?
What the fuck is trajectory?
What's good, brother?
Welcome, Patty P. You've been too quiet for my liking, Pat.
Trajectory, dog.
Pat, where the fuck have you been, brother? What are you, people want to know? What are you doing these
Pat,
days?
what
Real quick before we get into trajectory
can we have a day in the life of Pat real quick before we get into this? What do you do when you wake up? What does a day in the life look like of Patrick Price right now?
Today I got my oil changed in my GTR.
Oh, that's nice.
I had some barbecue.
Nice.
Some banana pudding.
Oh man, what a life, huh, Pat? What a life.
Yeah, that's about it so far. And then I saw trajectory and I lost it. Teep? Sell over Teep? All time? All time.
So where would you have T, Pat? Where would you put him?
All time after starting with Black Ops 2.
Somewhere like 10, 11, probably. But look, here's like a good little example to this situation and how I view it. Because, all right, so obviously I've played since like 08, but competitively, and like I was like obviously not a pro in 08 technically, but whatever. Through 08 to like 2013, right? So Modern Warfare 2, whatever, however you want to say it, you could say I'm top 2, whatever. All the way to the end of Black Ops 2 where we won 7 out of 8 events, right? Yeah. Up until this point. A Big T had like 13 chips, I think. At the time, but listen, Big T had like 13 chips at the time, I think. Yeah. So, and me and Teep at this time, I mean, you kind of just had to put us like equal, like when you're ranking us on a list in like current time back in BO2, because we had just teamed for the last 4.5 years, and it was all the kind of the same shit. So like we didn't really have any more achievements than like me than him or him than me. But anyway, at the end of BO2, after we just won 7 out of 8 events, whatever. Neither me or Teep or the community viewed me and him above Big T at the time. And that's why I think this like recency bias thing is crazy, because like me and Teep had a near like flawless last 4 years. Like we've from Modern Warfare 2, BO1, BO2, whatever, like we were top 1, top 2, like at the bottom. And even after all that success, after winning 7 out of 8 events, we knew we weren't higher than Big T on a list. Like, we just knew it. Like, regardless of how you want to compare errors and whatever, Big T was still ahead of us because of he had obviously been doing it longer. We counted his COD 4 national championship. Obviously, that was still a goated event win. And even though we were in the COD Champs era where we were making prize money way more than Big T was making when he won $2,000 for winning a national championship, it was still damn near impossible to go and win a national championship. Like, I couldn't find enough good players at the time, and I probably wasn't even good enough myself to get on a team that could even qualify for Nats in COD 4. So it's like, if we can't win 7 out of 8 events and have our dynasty year and pass Big T, then how are people like Celium, who are having awesome current years, dominating? They can't pass people who have done shit that is just like at this current time unsurpassable for the amount of time they've played. It's just you cannot physically say that the trajectory's irrelevant. We're making a list today. I don't care what Celium does
October
tomorrow.
12th.
So let me
Simp will probably pass Crim all time. It'll probably happen. If Simp's 19 years old, like Crim's probably playing a couple more years max. When Simp's done in 10 years, he'll probably be number 1. But right now he's not. This is not
gonna keep going?
Team sell over team all time.
Okay. So
Tom,
so
can I go
Pat,
first here?
all right, go ahead, Ben. Yeah, go ahead.
So a couple of things. The list is pretty clear with Black Ops 2 on, so appreciate those thoughts. My question to you, Pat, is how then kind of you're talking about that run that you guys had that I think you also got to include a little bit of Ghost in there. How do you stack up sort of the Atlanta FaZe last 2 years, understanding that last year they were a dominant team, but because of the format of the league, they couldn't play in every event?
I mean, I don't really care about like the fact that they couldn't play in every event, because even the events then, they were like fake events. They weren't events. They were like show match events. Like you were just going to have, I mean, if we even look back to the beginning of the CDL and how they proposed the schedule for events, it wasn't like you were determining a winner in Modern Warfare. Like you were literally having a tournament with half the teams and pre-selected matches that just teams were going up against whoever was predetermined to have an equal amount of matches throughout the year. That year, format-wise, it was scuffed. So I'm not going to take it away from them, but I'm also not going to like accredit what they could have done, because that's not what they did. It didn't happen. Like trajectory is just like, it's irrelevant. What possibly could have happened is irrelevant to me. What if fucking me and Slasher didn't get in fights in Black Ops 3? You know, did I could have won a BO3 ring? Like, it just didn't fucking happen. Like, sure, shit could have happened, but in reality, in this world, that didn't fucking happen. So I'm not accrediting to things that could have happened or should have happened or maybe would have happened. It's irrelevant.
Here's my caveat, because I'm not going to sit here and just kind of filibuster and speak for 3 minutes in a circle. My thought process of this is those 4 players, or the combination of those 3 players, have lost 14 series over 2 years.
Yeah, that's elite for sure. It's elite, but it's also in a league where like they got, I mean, I guess Hex was in the early development of the Pine Park when he sent RCs for FaZe for free, but like, Jesus, they got the perfect team right away. Like, bro, I wish I had to go through 4 months of Too Quick. Like, and shout out to my boy Aaron, but like, it just shit happens. Like that didn't happen to them. They got the best perfect team right away going into, you know, Cold War, and they were dominant, and they're gonna continue to be dominant. Like that's just facts. But I'm not gonna add to their achievements to what they're gonna be in the future. Today is, like Austin said, October 2021, right after the Cold War season, or Zoomaa. We're going off today. We can't go off what they do tomorrow. We can make Ben, you can make this list in a year from now, and if they win again and they dominate another year, then yeah, you're moving them up as you go. But as of right now, get them motherfuckers out my top 10.
Well, all I'll say is I think history will treat my list kind. My question to you, Pat, is sort of like, I think this in a vacuum process of just doing players 1 to 30, like it's just never going to work. I would love for
it does though. It does. You just have to understand it's not fair to those guys, and that's just how it is.
But how do you stack up errors, right? Because you
don't stack them. You count them equal. Like to me, they're equal. But I don't care about what the competition thinks is competitive today. I don't care what people think. You know who was better. At the end of the day, the best in the world played Call of Duty in 2010 competitively. The best in the world. Simp, if you take him back in time, he might be fucking dominant. But that ain't fucking real. That
he wasn't even at the womb yet.
Yeah, he was still.
He was still in the belly.
I think he was born back then. But let me ask you this, Pat.
He was 5.
Do you think it's equally as hard to win an event in Black Ops 2 as it is now?
Yes. It is hard to win an event no matter who you are and what era you're playing in. It is fucking hard.
I don't know if I agree
Ben,
with that.
Nowadays you can win 3 matches and win an event.
Yeah, I would have loved to play 3 games and win $100,000. I would have loved it.
You still technically have to win more than three matches, though, because you still got to play. You got to play
think
well.
Think about it like this.
Dude,
that was an online pool play matches, bro. I'm talking about at the event.
Yeah, but you guys played. Hold on, but I can test that because you guys played MLG seasons where you played online matches and then you went into a bracket.
Listen,
a bracket where we had to win 6 matches to win the event, or 7 at least. Here's
reality. Nameless is casting today, right?
Yeah.
But back in BO1, Nameless was on, had a situation where he was on a top 4 team all year. people aren't gonna compare him as, oh, Nameless isn't simp. Like it would have been way easier to win against Nameless. But no, Nameless was a top fucking player in BO1, and it's just you can't discredit people because of who they played against in their era. In the reality of it is, in 2010 and 2011. The people who were winning were playing against the best players who played in that time period. So it doesn't matter who you compare them to nowadays and who might have been better or worse. If you could invent a fucking time machine, that is irrelevant. The bottom line is
my issue.
Well, you can't, but Pat, you also can't argue that the competition's better now, though. I feel like you can't argue that. Because the COD is just in so much more of a limelight now. It's just so much bigger than what it was back then.
But people get to play full time. Like you can't just like, yeah, the competition's better because they're able to be better. Like,
that was part of the reason why I started the list.
I was staying up till 2 a.m. Not fucking forgetting to do a homework assignment and doing it in first period.
That's still happening. That's still happening today, Pat. That's still happening.
People aren't in high school anymore.
What do you mean? People are jumping out of high school now for COD? Since when?
You gotta be 18.
You gotta be 18 to play.
Nobody's in high school.
You're a grown adult playing.
Yeah,
there are guys finishing high school and playing.
Oh,
wasn't Standy still finishing school this year?
He was? I have no fucking idea.
He was in Texas, living in Texas. I don't think, unless he was doing online.
Did he drop out of high school? Did Standy drop out?
You got to be 18 to play, regardless. And if you're past 18 years old and still in high school, then you were held back a year or something. So that's irrelevant. It's an anomaly.
It depends on the order of stuff. But like my point from my POV is
Standy's
like
20.
But I knew about Standy 3 years ago when he was grinding when he was in high school. Like you have to make a name for yourself before you get 18. Before you turn 18, you have to.
So here's my thing: is the reason that I didn't want to include in this list.
Standy's 20.
Apparently he's 20. I didn't know that.
He's 20 years old.
Tom, let me speak. First off, the title of this stream is also feeding this argument because this is not an all-time list. The list is pretty clear that it's a Black Ops 2 and on list. And the reason I did that,
and I think that's the dumbest thing ever too, because then you discredit 5 years of competitive Call of Duty.
But how do I
it was real. Just because you didn't watch
people playing part-time, Pat.
People who were playing part-time. People were fucking. That's the point. People weren't playing part-time. People were making miles more sacrifice then than they are today. Fact. They were like when we talk about people.
You got to grind full time now to win, and that's.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that, Pat. I disagree with that. I feel like right now.
How do you disagree with that? It's the same thing. Today you're making multiple six figures as comfortable as you ever were.
Oh, like, you're talking about the money. You're talking about the money. I'm talking about the work ethic. Like in order to be a professional player these days, like you need to put in a lot of time.
But it's not like back then. I was putting in more time than Nameless. Like, that's not what happened. Or I was putting in more time than Pluto or Mutation or Rambo or Sidrock or Big T or Nate or Merc. We were all making insane sacrifices to play as much as we possibly could. Like, it's relative to the time. But you can't discredit an entire era and generation, which, by the way, most likely inspired over 50% of the people who are playing today, who were at an elite level.
That's a fact. The last thing you said is a fact.
You're not just going to discredit people who were playing it.
My POV on it was, first off, is y'all are taking this list very seriously, so appreciate that.
We're taking it seriously.
But listen, let me finish.
I'm going to finish, but then I'm going to give you the best example that you probably ever
had. Oh, shit. All things are heating up, ladies and gentlemen. Benjamin Team and Patty P are going at it.
You're about to get the best example you ever heard.
Ben, the floor is yours, Ben.
My POV here is this. I have kind of got this understanding, and I think we all kind of agree that it's very hard to stack up these eras. COD changed a lot. Professional gaming has changed a lot. A lot of money has come into the scene. The systems of qualification and the events are not the same year to year. So I had a really tough time on when this list should start. And I really didn't want to disrespect the Modern Warfare 3 grinders, the Black Ops 1 grinders, people that were playing before the Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 4. But I think the easiest way to really evaluate this list as whole in terms of people that played from generation to generation was to start it in Black Ops 2 when people started getting real professional contracts and getting some coin on the side.
I was making I think $450 a month.
Oh yeah, you guys were getting,
and we were the only salary team
back in the day. Yeah,
we were the only salary team.
Yeah,
there wasn't money in BO2.
What was your salary? $500 a month?
I think it was $450. I think you got like an extra 50 if you like made a YouTube video.
Making more money at ShopRite.
These guys make 500 in a couple of days based on their salary now. It's insane. Like that's just kind of how the growth of where it is. I think the difficulty that I had with this list from my POV is just like, how do you just stack up these eras?
Bro, but why?
and
Okay,
for my-
why
for
do you,
my
why do you want to
POV let me finish
compare
my thought.
eras? Why do you
Let
want to
me-
compare eras?
Because I have to do it for the list. Unless
No,
you
no,
got to.
no. Why?
Well, here's what I was thinking. Here's what I was thinking.
Why don't you value the eras based on the eras? Like,
But
if,
how do you
if
do that,
somebody
though?
if somebody was as dominant as Simp was in BO1, then it's fucking equal. If someone had as good of a year in BO1 as Simp had in BO4, why is it different?
How do you
Why
like,
is it different in Cold War?
Doesn't that affect? So my difficulty in that is in what you're just going to have individual point systems for each era and then kind of roll it up like that. But doesn't that weigh down people that have a dominant most recent era? They're just always going to be at the bottom of the list.
They're
I think
going
it's
to be
really
at the
hard.
bottom of the list in real time because they're in real time. That's just how it is.
You're telling me that
add
someone like Sims
extra.
should be at 25 instead of in the top 10.
Bro, Luka Doncic isn't just a top 10 NBA player of all time because he had just a
Yeah, but
phenomenal
he hasn't
year.
won an NBA championship.
No,
yet,
but I'm
which
saying
is a
you
bad
don't
example
just
here.
go, oh, well, hold on. It's 2021. He had a great year. That guy gets a plus 10. Extra points for being dominant in 2021. Who fucking cares what year it is? If you had a dominant year, you had a dominant year. If you're the best player in the game in a fucking game, then that's just facts. You're the best player in the game. It doesn't matter what fucking year it is. I don't care what era it is. I don't care what the game looks like. I don't care what it's called. I don't care about the developer. I don't care about the CDL, the CWL, the MLG, the bullshit league. It doesn't matter. The reality is, if you're the best in the fucking world in a fucking video game, then you are going to be treated equally as someone the best in the world today. Because you're the best in the fucking
don't subscribe to
world.
the argument where you guys sat here and you don't think that it's much harder for someone to get to the top now than it was back in the Black
I
Ops 2
don't
era.
care how hard it is.
But we have to
This
care
is
for the
an
sake of this list.
No, you
though.
don't. This is an all-time list. It is relative on what is fucking
Not an
more
all-time
difficult.
list. Again, once again, it starts in Black Ops 2.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, regardless. But a list is no matter what, all time. It's taking the fact when someone started. Why? Okay, it's BO2, right? You're making it. Okay, well, let's say that let's quote it and let's say my Simp years, right, happened in MW2 to BO2, right? Let's just say it. The years that I was equally as dominant as Simp happened in MW2 to BO2, right? That time frame. Why would a list start in BO2 and discredit, let's just use me an example, all those fucking years, which you're talking about trajectory, right? My trajectory after all those years could have been my BO2 run, and I dominated in Ghost, and then a fucking game changed, and it was jetpacks, and I wasn't as good or whatever. Like, that's why you cannot just dictate what years you start. You base someone on career and the games they played, and that's not just me. That's everybody. Keep at 15, Stallion at 14. What am I seeing, man? What am I seeing, dog?
Listen,
All right, we're going in a giant circle.
Okay,
here.
hold on, let me go back to my example.
we're going in a
this is
circle.
important.
I definitely.
This is important.
Go
Hold on,
ahead,
this is
Pat. Go
important.
ahead.
When Krim was coming off playing an imaginary $1.6 million Battlefield tournament, okay? It was absolutely imaginary.
Imaginary tournament, man. That's disrespectful.
That's tough.
It was imaginary. The Virgin Gaming, I think, absolutely imaginary. But he had stopped playing Halo and he was playing an imaginary tournament, okay? And this is the end of MW3 and
Who's
Black
this?
Ops 2 Krim.
Okay.
This is the end of MW3 and Black Ops 2 is coming out. MW3 was my senior year, I believe, in high school. So I just graduated and just started at college at the end of MW3. Me and Teep obviously were like, MW3 was kind of like a break year in a sense because there was absolutely no tournaments except for if you went to Europe, which only Optic did at the time. Anyway, me and Teep were getting back together and we were thinking about who we were going to play with. And this is going into BO2, right? The beginning of the year. And I had obviously known Krim from playing in Call of Duty in 08 and 09 and some of 2010, and then he went to Halo, obviously, so I was very aware of who he was. And we talked and decided a team. And you guys know how it is. Every COD player pretty much plays like the year, like if it's BO2's coming out, you're playing BO1. That's how it was at the time. And if MW3 was coming out, you're playing MW2 to like prepare for the next year. And these are like in that time era, modern pros. So in early BO2, with the pros that would have been at the time the pros, we're all playing Black Ops 1 8s, okay?
Yeah.
And I was obviously committed to playing with Krim after I convinced Teep, but We go into BO18s, and Krim, for the life of him, couldn't get picked, right? Like, he could not get picked. No one respected him.
Shit.
And so when he did get picked, he was getting absolutely shit on. Like, turned on, had bad, like, world starred by people who played BO1. Like, he was getting world starred, and I was spectating, like, oh my God, this guy's getting shit on. Like, and this is like current era MW2 pros. So like, I think Merc could have been in them, Cap, like Nameless for sure. That crew, Pluto probably, Nato for sure, whatever, that era. And he was getting world starred, like bad. And there was just nothing to kill it. Yeah, there was nothing to do for him except he was just getting shit on. So fast forward though, Krim is literally the undisputed GOAT today, right?
Yeah.
So, but he was getting absolutely world starred by the BO1, MW3,
in eights,
BO2 era.
In eights.
It doesn't matter. He was literally just getting shit on. Did he pull
up the competitions and won? And
no, but even in BO2, like it wasn't
he was
a
new to
steep learning
COD,
curve.
though. He was new to COD, though.
Krim,
He
this
wasn't?
new to COD shit is dumb. He played. His name was Eclipse. He played in
What a
almost every
shit name.
PCL in 08 and some of the PCLs in 09. And then he played with fucking XBL Exile, I think maybe Pac-Man, Krim, and Carnage were an MW2 team for like the first 4 months. Krim played COD, like he wasn't some new fucking player.
Yeah.
He was fucking he had the deepest fucking voice too. He sounded like he was in 2008-9. Krim sounded like he was 30. He sounded like he was 30.
That makes you lose it every time, man.
But anyway, he was getting shit on. But today he's the undisputed GOAT. Like that's why these trajectory things are just like mind blowing to me because you have no idea. And in the era, Krim was getting shit on. Like he got fucking dominant. That's just how it is.
Though, but let's.
I don't care.
Okay, I want to move the argument here.
There were people who were better than Krim going back in early BO2 time frame.
So shitty changed his name, bro.
Listen, I think the one thing that I've learned from this exercise, and you probably learned it too in this chat, is maybe what we need to do as a community is figure out how to get a lot of people who are respected in a group and figure out how to do it.
Listen, no, Ben, hold on, Ben, don't back down from the argument though, because
I'm not backing down.
No, because the thing is, Ben, no, the thing is, bro, is I actually like your list. Like, I don't dislike this list. I just think there's definitely some
disagreements.
No. I definitely think there's recency bias in the list. I think that's the main issue. You know, the trajectory.
We're just gonna. It's like, how do you rate the CDL era though? Like I agree that's a tough conversation, but like you can't tell me that like this isn't a difficult era to your pro Call of Duty player.
You should just stop trying to rate it more than other eras. Like you just rate it as a fucking error. Like,
but where are you putting then? So to that point, then like
you also got to think about the situation.
Where are you putting Simpa, BZ, and R-Cities then? Because we're just arguing in circles now, which I
don't know. Somewhere in the teens for sure. They're not top 10.
You're really putting the three of them in the teens.
Yes, they're dominant, and they'll end up being high as fuck. They'll be high as fuck for sure. They'll be high as fuck though. I don't know where. I don't know how long they're gonna play, and I don't know what COD's gonna look like. They'll end up super fucking high on an all-time list. They're in great positions. They're gonna be fucking top 10 absolutely, depending on if they get to team with each other. That's godlike because I mean, Slasher, you know, we as players didn't always get to have our fucking perfect teams that we wanted. They got theirs. They also, by the way, have gotten to play you mentioned 3-year span, 3 CODs that are exactly the CODs that they fucking like. They're the perfect CODs for them. Like, I would have loved to play 3 BO2s in a row, right? Like, I would have fucking loved that. It's just not reality. You're not gonna fucking.
We're gonna get into an argument that we're gonna go down a big rabbit hole.
No, but my point is,
for another show.
If we're on an all-time list, they're not top 10
It's a Black Ops 2 list. Like once again,
I'm using all-time. I played all-time.
Well, that's not how the list is built.
I'm just telling you.
You gotta end this argument.
No, listen, come on, because I'm gonna be honest. This
J-Cap way higher for me. I've played against him since MW2. He was top 2 in MW2, top 3, top 4 in BO1. Like he was top 10 in BO2. It like you can't just discredit all these players that put in obscene amount of hours just because someone currently is having a dominant time.
So let's put it this way though. Are we so what are the games
godlike.
so what are the games that we're not counting? Black Ops 1 and MW3?
I count BO1. The only game I don't count is MW3 because
I was going to say Pat, there's no way you're counting MW3, right? Like you're not counting MW3 in your head, are you?
No one could pay to go to a fucking
tournament. Okay, that's fair then. That's fair. The only reason why I agreed with Ben on doing the Black Ops 2 all time or going from Black Ops 2 up is because I just think MW3 was a complete joke. I don't like counting MW3. I hate it.
I count MW2 and BO1.
Oh, you count MW2 too?
It's really hard to skip years.
Yes.
That's shit's now getting.
Dude, if we want to count years, then the only people we're counting it for is that Apex team: Merc, Big T, Rambo, and Scump. Those are the only people that we can even count that year for. That's the only people who were even allowed to play. Like, a lot of you don't understand how that year worked, but in MW3, the game came out after MLG was supporting COD. No LAN whatsoever, no ability to play in tournaments.
No LAN, that sounds familiar.
The league, yeah, but they didn't even have a format, like a way to play. Like, you couldn't even fucking plug up and next to each other and play in the same party. Yeah. But the league saw it and they did some. I think the first 2 months, the league tried doing some like online show match stuff. You can go see on YouTube for sure. They tried it, it didn't work out, and the league completely abandoned the year. There wasn't 2Ks, there wasn't tournaments. There was S&D tournaments, and the S&D scene was very alive in MW3, but in terms of competitive, there weren't competitive tournaments, and the only people that hosted them was EGL, who was only in Europe, and the only North American team to my knowledge that went to those tournaments was at the time Optic, which turned into Apex Gaming to go there. And then I think Haggy, Dito, Nameless, and someone went to one at the very end of the year, but other than that, there was absolutely no tournaments to play for, so you were getting on scrimming, and that was like if you cared. But there was like 3 teams who tried to play competitively due to that situation.
So Pat, looking at Ben's list, right, from 1 to 30, besides for moving TP up, who else would you move up on this list?
Up?
Like, yeah, what would you change from this list? Because I honestly don't.
John goes up.
I don't dislike Ben's list. I don't dislike it.
Jerry's the one I had the hardest with. John is just like
John goes up.
Maybe disagree with a little bit on that.
John played BO1.
That's again if you're including everything before Black Ops 2.
Okay, regardless. John played BO1. John played BO2. John played Ghost. John played AW.
What did he do in Black Ops 1 BO2? Was John like did he win anything?
John's entry year was BO1, and
right. And how'd he do?
He was godlike on a shitty fucking team, but he made and then he got on Fear, and then he got on Fear, and then he won Raleigh, I think it was.
If you're moving John up, are you moving me up, Pat?
Pat's making a hell of an argument, bro. I'm gonna put him at number 1. Crim couldn't beat him.
You're moving John up. Pat, you better move me up a little bit.
I'm moving Cap up.
I'm sold.
I'm moving probably maybe App over you. So John, definitely Josiah. I would move Haggy up. I would move.
Haggy's not even on the list, is he?
He's 31 right now.
I wanna do this because we're running pushing 2 hours. But Pat, while I have you, I want to ask a question that has come up a lot on this show, and Tommy kind of alluded to the beginning of the show. I know you're kind of big chilling now. Do you have any thoughts or kind of getting involved with any CDL teams? Do any kind of front office work, coaching work? Is there anything on your current radar right now?
I am doing something. I can't speak of it right now, but but you know, the way I look at it is you could hand me almost any role in any situation, and I'm gonna figure out how to do it to the best of my ability, which is gonna be an A+ job.
That's what I'm saying, man. We need
bro. What?
Pat just put a lot of stuff, but
real quick before you go on, Ben, one second. Chat, Twitch has been having some problems the last 2-3 days where randomly streams have just been going down and coming back up. So if that ever happens, just hit the refresh button. Ben, you're echoing again, like I said was gonna happen.
It tweaked my headset. Sorry. Go ahead.
So just realize that. Oh no, that's Pat actually. That's echoing. Pat, watch your mic.
What am I doing?
It's just echoing. It's echoing really bad.
You're in that ramp up.
So chat, just if the stream does go offline, just refresh. I don't know what's going on with Twitch right now, but a lot of people have been having problems. I know Zinni was having problems. I was having problems earlier today, but I'm not dropping any frames on my end or anything, so everything's good on my end. Just a little heads up for those of you who are spamming F in the chat. But go ahead, Ben.
No, I was gonna say it's hopefully you're doing stuff with one of these teams, Pat, because Tom and I have talked at length. The scene will get better if some of these ex-pros come in. They step up front offices. They step up coaching staffs. And we really, beyond having a really built out player system, we have these really deep coaching staffs with just experience and talent. It not only helps kind of like teach current players how to build a system, but like really start developing these talent pipelines of finding younger players, nurturing them, and kind of bring them up through the system. Like that's a kind of thing I would love to see in Call of Duty over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the situation is that a lot of people that are currently in charge of CDL teams haven't made that move yet, and who knows if they will. I mean, we're limited to 12 teams, which is a very small, I guess, bubble of
Talent, yeah.
No, not just talent, but of people in front offices to make decisions. Like, I think it would take someone doing it and seeing success for others to follow. But
I mean, but look at the teams that have won though. Like the 2 teams that have won champs these last 2 years are teams where you've got a coach who's an ex-player who's won.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna be a douchebag and take credit away from people. But I mean, coaching phase, Replays is awesome, dude. Like, I'm sure them and his staff has definitely helped them out. But I mean, coaching phase in Dallas, like, those guys are gonna have success regardless of who is on their coaching staff. It's just when you have a godlike roster and you have the perfect formed roster that you wanted, pieces just fall together. There's definitely additions, but I mean, like,
even in the trenches, like at a certain point, there's other things that get you over the hump beyond just talent. It's the work ethic, it's the other stuff, and some of that comes with self-motivation from the players and driving that, and some of that comes from the coaching staffs really like setting up their teams correctly, and then the players go out and execute.
Yeah, but then you also have some coaching staffs setting up the worst teams, and I feel like the issue
is some teams
are
picking up terrible coaches.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Compared to what's out there.
And I think the situation we're in is like we're giving credit where it works, but we're not blaming people when it doesn't work, and that's the thing I don't like. So if we're gonna give credit to people that you think deserve credit, well then you need to also hold people who are doing a piss poor job accountable, and I think that's where the CDO is lacking.
We've done a little bit on this show though. Tom and I try to get in that bucket because a lot of people are afraid to speak on that stuff. But Tom and I hear stuff through the grapevine or things that people say publicly that allude to, and we try to bring light to that in the show of sometimes the players disagree with the coaches in their system, and it's happened in situations. You saw the Reese Vivid situation was one where I think that was became a pretty decent situation of a disagreement between a player and a coach. But I think that will come with time, Pat. As
oh, for sure,
more pressure develops from a PR standpoint on these coaches. I also think just like pro sports, everybody's going to learn how to play that PR game a little bit better, right? Manipulate the media narrative. There's not that many beat writers floating around the scene, people writing articles, writing opinion pieces to influence opinion. So that'll come with time.
I don't think there needs to be outside opinion influence. I just think there aren't enough educated people to make the right choices in house. I think that's what
They just don't know. They don't know anything about COD. They don't know anything about COD. Even talking to some people at New York behind the scenes, because I was getting involved a little bit with helping.
Yeah,
with
which isn't their fault.
They literally know nothing about COD. When they came in, they were like, we didn't even know who to talk to. We didn't even know who the top players were. Like, we had no idea. And then they find somebody to talk to, and they don't even know if that person they're talking to is credible. Right, giving them the right shit.
That's kind of what I was alluding to, is like the person that might have, gotten, like you just said, the person they found to talk to, like that could completely, shift that direction of whatever team we're speaking on, whatever team it may be. And it's just like, it's a very narrow funnel, and that's just what they know and believe, and that's all the information that they have. It's not like they're branching
what
out.
What you're speaking to is not just an esports or a sports problem. This has literally got analogies to how you run a business, right? You're a CEO, you're an executive, you're president of a company. You're only going to be as good as the people below.
Right, but my issue,
counsel and the advice you get.
For sure. But my issue is, it's not like the CDL or the COD scene didn't exist, right? It's not like this information is not out there and you can't find the right people. It's just the fact that this was a very healthy ecosystem that has all these pieces, and I just don't think people necessarily went and looked for it as hard as they could have in general, like in the entire
which
CDL.
Is like a perfect example of this real quick is Looney. Now I don't know, I would love to have Dan on to see kind of how the Minnesota stuff ended up, but Minnesota already has a head coach. Where are some of these other teams that need a head coach? They should have been on their knees for this.
You and I have been talking about in this show at length that we were we were saying for like a year and a half I mean, we haven't been doing a show for a year and a half.
And Dan
half
just
a
said in
year.
the chat they weren't.
They weren't.
Why?
So how many actual offers did you get, Dan?
Which just doesn't make any sense to me.
If this number is not like 3, I'm gonna be mind blown.
How does somebody like Dan not have options when it comes to a coaching gig early on in a franchise league? That is fucking unbelievable. That just goes to show that people don't know what they're doing. Who better,
I think
honestly?
It also goes to
Less
show
than
that
3, I'm
the
mind
CDL desperately needs expansion. I mean, that's just my opinion. It desperately needs it.
I mean, I think 16 teams would be good. I wouldn't go any higher than 16.
I think also at 16 you could run an actual tournament format, which Ben goes back to your point about the format of events and stuff. You could actually have these very competitive events that we were talking about for years, where people love the format. You could have very similar, events where we can't say that, FaZe went to fucking COD Champs and was already top 3 before they even played a match. Like you would eliminate that situation when you have 16 actual teams and you could have a real format.
See, Dan put it in the chat, 1.5, Ben, he said. Technically 1.5. That is fucking insane.
Well, you also gotta assume that Minnesota's the 1, right? Because it worked out. So that he would
have someone but never gave him a real offer. That's
right. So outside of Minnesota,
they're probably talking to multiple people. Like I'm pretty sure I know what Dan means by that 1.5, and he probably was talking to a team and then probably just didn't get an offer.
I know who I think the half team is, and Dan, we can chat on the side and confirm if that was right or not. But it comes down to the facts that, to your point about expansion, look, like we also have to recognize the last 2 years.
I mean, it was New York.
We've been dealing with, okay, well, you're just going to toss it out there.
I mean, why not? I mean, at the end of the day, New York went with the person they thought was right for the job. And that ended up being Bobble. But it sure was talked about.
I don't know if that's the right choice, though, but we can agree to disagree on that one.
I mean, yeah, they ended up picking whoever they thought was best for the team and the job, and that ended up being Bobble. Now, I know Dan... Huh? What?
No, my POV, can I explain why I think that's a bad decision? Because we were actually going to talk about on this show. I like Revan, but if the rumored team is...
I don't know, real quick, before you go, Ben, because sorry to cut you off, but I don't know why people are spamming love liners and putting out. They were entertaining Dan. Where were the other fucking 11 teams? We already had a great coach. Bob was a good coach. We already had... Where are some of these other teams that legit don't have coaches? Those are the teams I'm talking to. Forget New York. New York can do whatever they want. They had a good coach. What the fuck are some of these other teams doing that don't have a coach? Why aren't they hitting up Dan? Why aren't they? I don't understand that. It's so weird to me, and maybe it just goes to show. I saw Nameless put it in the chat, is that some of these pro teams maybe just aren't focusing that much on coaches. Like they just really don't care that much about the coaching staff, which is fucking ridiculous.
I think the coaching staff makes and breaks a lot of teams.
What the fuck is that? A good coach is going to tell you in that front office exactly what's going on and exactly what the problem is. Here's the problem. When a team is not doing well in the league, you sit down and talk to the players. They all bullshit. And then when you get them one by one, they all start throwing each other under the bus. You don't even know who you're even going with here. A Call of Duty team is only 4 guys, So
that's my issue with
you need a middleman.
So first off, it sounds like New York never actually gave him a real offer. So here's my thing, right? If the rumored team's got Clay and Krim on it, like to me, you need that coach to really be a strong personality, because there are times where those 2 players are going to disagree, but they're mature enough players that if you get a strong coach personality, the 3 of them will get in a room and they'll figure it out, and no hard feelings, because that's the business. I like Revan, but he comes off as way more of a passive individual. And to me, yeah, they can probably maybe get away with it, but there's also a chance where some of those issues fester because you don't have a head coach to really cut those things off. So that's my only concern from the New York POV, and why if I were in that shoe, I probably would want.
Well, think about New York too. New York, the office is not the only ones making the decision. You also talk to the team. And I'm sure they'll release their team soon, and we'll get a better idea of where their head was with the roster. We could talk to some of the guys, but you also got to look at it like that. Who does the team want to be coached by? It goes by. It's a lot of little things that go on behind the scenes when it comes to building a roster. And I think some people might question, maybe the subliners or anybody else, but they don't understand anything. They don't understand anything that goes on behind the scenes and relationships and all different kinds of shit. To me, I'm just really surprised that Dan only got fucking 1 offer. That's
mind blowing me. There are at least, I can think of at least 3 4, maybe 5 teams that could definitely.
Y'all are mind blown by that.
Or just add him to supplement their staff.
But I'm not, and it's not like a discredit to Dan. I'm just not mind blown by the fact that CDL teams aren't reaching out to people who are more qualified and more deserving of
Pat, I said this the first year coming in.
It's not surprising
but
to me. It really
after
isn't.
year 2 or 3, Pat, it doesn't surprise you. Like after year 2, you would think that some of these CDL teams would have a better understanding.
Nah, absolutely not. I mean, let's look at
what are
some
they
of
morons,
these CDL.
Pat? How much fucking Pine Park are they hitting?
I mean, let's look at some of these franchises. I mean, just putting together, shitty rosters and just appearing, right, having the appearance that they just don't care whether it goes good or bad. And that's an honest opinion that I think there's a lot of people.
But then they just lose out on so much cash, and they just wasted a whole year. Like these teams,
to me, it doesn't look like there are people that are worried about that or concerned about that. Personally, that's just how it appears to me.
Well, then they shouldn't even be in the fucking league.
Which is why I said the league desperately needs expansion regardless.
I think a lot, to that I would say, we also need to recognize in the show the last 2 years have been under a very weird situation where we've all been dealing with COVID. I'm sure in an ideal world there might be expansion now, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's.
But even if COVID doesn't happen, I mean, I think there's still some serious fundamental issues currently going on with, a few franchises.
I mean, yeah.
I think it's a lot of the same thing with sports franchises. Like, I think to your POV, like, I think one of the biggest lessons that owners in traditional sports have learned is when you there was a time and a place where George Steinbrenner worked because his instincts were decent. Yeah, he fired a shitload of people, but he was making right decisions and they were winning. But a lot of these modern teams now, what you're seeing is the ownership is going out and doing a real thorough search to find a very good president of their operations, find a really good cutting-edge coaching staff that's not only going to win now, but they're trying to figure out how to win in 3 or 4 years and how tactics are going to shift. That's the mindset that I think not a lot of CDL franchises have right now, and why teams like an Atlanta or a Dallas are so far ahead of people. It's not just the people they have on the roster. It's you've got ownership that has people in the coaching staff that they trust to dictate the direction of those franchises.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Pat,
I agree with
Pat,
you.
have you been keeping up at all with the COD League? Like, do you watch like Challengers, the COD League? Like, do you keep up, or are you just kind of out of the loop these days? Like, how involved are you?
I mean, I'm not really involved in terms of the back end of what's going on. Like, I had no idea what these rumored rosters were. I mean, I was finding out on Twitter, so I mean, like, I wasn't really involved in stuff like that. Like I guess the back end of things, as I obviously have been in the past.
I'm saying, do you know which players are good, which players are bad? Like, if you wanted to build a team right now, would you know what to do? If I were to give you the keys to Paris right now, would you know even where to start? Would you have any idea, or would you be confused?
Absolutely, but I would need a budget because I'm going to go and buy a few players from a few different teams. So I mean, like, that's just if you want to talk about starting from the ground up and just making a team out of challenger players, then yeah, I mean, I'd be able to do that. But I think the reality is currently, like, the talent in the CDL is way too top heavy, and what I mean by that is, if someone's committed to being in the CDL and they want to have a successful franchise, they need to sit and go, hey, this player I believe in the next 2-3 years, I'm going to purchase him from X and So's CDL team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pay what I need to pay, and I'm going to start my franchise, or fix my franchise situation, period. And I think that's kind of the situation that needs to happen with a lot of teams because, like I mentioned, I feel that the CDL is very top heavy where you're stacking a ton of talent on a couple of teams. And, for me, in my opinion, to have a successful league, I think that needs to spread out, especially if you're a franchise that's like committed to this thing in the long haul, then you need to, if you want to actually make a roster, you can't just keep going, all right, I'm just going to throw 4 challenger guys together 1 year and hope it works out, and do the same thing next year and do a completely rebuild and continue that cycle. I think that, you need to see build something.
But that's why
you need to see some blockbuster moves from the front office and not just from like, oh, we picked up this free agent.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the economics of this are interesting. We've explored this on this show. It's like, how does that work out? For a lot of these guys, like, they're going to make $500K a year in just prize money on top of their salary. So, like, that decision for them is not as easy. You got to really supplement that with a lot of cash, and there's restrictions on that. I think
FaZe to me is the only untouchable, in my opinion.
Second point, though, and I think, like, again, we've talked about this a couple times in the show. I think time's going to solve this, right? Events come back. People can really travel. The challenger scene's bustling again. Like for a lot of these franchises that aren't always going to be in a position, at least short term, to flush the cash, it's like, well, we need to focus on finding the next diamonds in the rough and do it the right way and not just roll the dice. And for challengers players and hope it works, like we need to actually figure out how to scout and evaluate these players, find the talent we want, and then develop them into being the next Sipper or BZ. Doesn't mean it's necessarily not going to work, but look how it works out in professional sports, how it works in European soccer. People stay at the top because they figure out how to cycle talent.
Yeah, but it's also hard to do that unless you have people that know what they're doing.
I agree with you on like there for sure can be some diamonds in the rough in terms of like players like Standy, but I don't think players like Standy could, let's use the Paris example. I don't think you could just throw a player like Standy as a challenger player onto the Paris Legion roster with 3 other random challenger players and just hope it works out. I think if the example you're mentioning is taking someone who you believe can be very good and putting them into a system with, experienced players who are very, already very established and talented and mold them into that system. But I think where we're at now is those potential diamonds in the rough. I thought Paul X was going to be a really good player, but like,
throwing him into now.
No. I'm just saying, throwing him into a situation like London, like I just kind of it was just shit. And I think it was shit for him. And
that's my point, which is like, how do these franchises get in a situation where you're Greg Popovich and you're getting your players to overperform and not underperform?
I could do that shit in my sleep, but what I'm saying is, I think it's it's just the
they need the right talent to coach
the talent, but they also need to have the right front office to make the right decisions, because
I think it's also like a little bit of
throwing someone like Paul X, who was started off that was it the Cold War season absolutely frying, like into a roster that was just all over the place, had no idea what they were trying to accomplish. It seemed like they were hot and cold and whatever, and just hoping that picking up a star player would solve their issues. I think that was just a mistake. I think looking at the Minnesota's route, and obviously they have Brian Saint repping, and now Dan, like that route to making that change looked sophisticated and looked like they had a plan with it. But I think the situation now is you just have franchises just guessing, and that's kind of what it seems like.
Ben, did you catch what my cousin said, Vinny, in the chat? Did you catch what he said before? He said that franchise teams need scouts. That they need scouts who are constantly looking at the competition, constantly, like they need to hire people that are keeping their eye out.
Ben is 100% not wrong about that.
No, I'm laughing because I want to show Vinny some love here, because Vinny found Standy. For the most part, Vinny put Standy in the map.
Vinny was high on Mac before everybody else was high on Mac.
No, but he was really high on Standy.
Oh, I know. He would make lists like
I'm talking when Standy was 16, like 4 or 5 years. Like when he had 2 years to go until he can get to the league. My cousin Vinny was like, used to tell me at family parties, like, dude, when this guy turns 18, like, you gotta get this guy. And I'm like, I'm just like, I don't know, Vin, where you find this guy? I just know, man. Like, if you pay attention to the scene, like if you're playing, like even just like tournaments, like S&D tournaments, wherever you find people playing competitive shit is where you find the diamonds in the rough, because you just find people who naturally love COD and love the competitive atmosphere, So going with a scouts route is not a bad take by cousin Vin.
Yeah, I think right now for some of these orgs, I may say the economics of that are really tough. But I think long term, and this is not, guys, I look at this more macro, like it's not just a CDL problem. It's like, League of Legends, other tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 games. It's like you need to find a way to really have like a really good talent pipeline and understand who's coming up, because you're not exactly going to action all that information, but you may be in a situation where you have spots become available, or you have a need in your system and you want to develop someone over a short or long period of time.
I agree with you, but the issue with that is I don't think that responsibility should fall 100% on the franchise itself. I think that's super unfair, and I think there needs to be a better talent pipeline by the CDL than challengers currently. I think you're 100% correct in the terms that there needs to be a talent pipeline that's can be accessible and used by franchises, and some obviously use more effort than others, but I don't think the current challenger system is that pipeline, and I think that needs to have a big rework. What
do you think they should do differently than they're doing now?
I mean, it's just so hard to get in that without a contract in front of me and sitting at the.
I mean, listen, man.
I like that.
I like that, Pat. You don't work for free, Pat. But listen, we'll end it there, man. We had a long show. How long did we go today? Jesus, fucking over 2 hours.
We started at 6. It was a 2.5 hour.
Wait,
show.
by the way, Tom, I want to
No.
interrupt you really quick. Ben, this whole time has been saying this was a BO2 and on list. I just want to clarify. The title of the flank tonight says top 30 COD pros all time. So all I gotta say. So Ben, it was great speaking to you.
But
Bro, I don't make the list, brother.
No,
I mean,
you said it was a BO2 and on list.
I mean,
but the title said it was top 30 all time. So I came to discuss.
Yeah, we're clickbaiting, brother. Like it is what it is.
No, I mean, I wasn't clickbaiting. I was looking at it as legit an all-time list. I see your point where you know if you're doing Black Ops 2 up. I mean, the reason I did that is because like I guess
No, you did it right, Tom. You did it right.
The
Tom.
MW3 like skip year type shit. You know what I'm saying, Pat? Like I just like I didn't like it. I think starting from Black Ops 2 would have been like the most competitive list we can make. But I think I see your point. Like if we were gonna put the rest of those early games on, I don't think it'll change it much. It'll change it like you'll see some other names in there.
The reality is the people that were dominant in BO2 is just we're also playing MW2 and BO1. But that was my point. Like there's only a few people who were playing in BO2 who weren't playing in MW2 and BO1. That was kind of my point.
Right.
Like
but there were some players back then that even with that like say Sharp and Nez and this and that. I still don't even know if I'd put him in this top 30, even if you are counting it.
They're not going to make a top 30 because they haven't played in 7 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
But you can't discredit the people who did play and continued to play. That was more my point.
Oh
like,
no.
The TPs, the nameless, the Murph,
me,
JCap, like those. You
right.
could go
but
on
I think even doing from Black Ops 2 on, like a lot of those players are still here. And I think, it's well deserved for them to be here. In my opinion, just to show everybody too, like the final list of what ended up happening. The only thing I said about this list is kind of just agreeing with Austin on like the recency bias. That's about it. Other than that, like I actually really like this list, especially compared to Nameless's list. I don't know if you saw his list.
But if I think I saw his top 10. I didn't see his like after that. But just my point though is let's use Teep for example. If you do BO2 and on, well, you're only giving Teep 3 years. Think about that.
No, it's a good point. It's a really good point.
Teep played since 2009, and if you only count BO2 on, then you're giving somebody who was on a dynasty, absolutely established a role in Call of Duty that used to exist, doesn't exist anymore, perfected that role, and won near 20 tournaments and a world championship. So you're discrediting his initial first 3 or 4 years of competing and only summarizing his career to 3 years, which is in my opinion unfair to have to sell him over Teep. I won't forget this, man. Oh my lord.
Bro, my only argument to that, Pat, is like back in the day I definitely don't want to discredit anybody. I just definitely think COD right now at the point of where it is, I definitely think that the hardest part is just weighing the different eras. Like, you have to put them all into one, but it's hard to put them all into one. Like, that's the only argument. Like, that's where things get a little mixy,
Yeah, there's never going to be a perfect all-time list in reality.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, like, it's, I get what you're saying that it's not an all-time list, but I'm still title. Can I still title it all-time, Pat, with your permission?
Yeah, you just got to shift some spots around and you can keep the title.
Okay, yeah, we'll shift some spots around.
Fix Celium and Teep right now,
you
Tommy, I'm staring at it.
Ben, where would you, after this whole talk, would you change anything on this list, Ben?
But I could see swapping Teep and MC, but I'm not swapping. I don't think you could swap MC and Sam.
You would keep MC above Sam. See, and I agree. I agree with Ben there. I wouldn't like.
I could see it.
Well, I mean, yeah. If we're gonna compare Sam, I mean, Sam has had a piss poor last 2 years. So I mean, like.
And to be honest, Pat, where do you think I should be on this list?
Let's look here. Where are you at currently?
I should be higher, Pat. I should be higher, bro.
17. Let's see. So you started in.
Be high.
Are we giving you the Ghost start? Like we're saying you started Ghost?
Yeah, bro,
like,
Ghost.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Pat, was I good at Ghost? Because people forget, man. And please be honest here.
I know what you want me to say,
Pat, please be honest here.
Okay, guys. Let me clarify something. So Tommy's stream knows this. In 2014, when Damon was having his baby, and our team had our little whatever you want to call it,
the dynasty team.
Yeah, me, Teep, and Krim, and we obviously had to make a roster move because Damon was moving on. We were very heavily looking at picking up Tommy
as well as every single other pro team. What was that, Pat?
We liked you for your search at the time,
Mhm.
but you were a very, very aggressive player, and we felt like Krim could have shifted to Damon's role, and I obviously could have played Krim's role, and then you and Teep would have been very aggressive. So
Yeah.
technically, you would have been replacing
To sum it up,
my
to sum
role
it
on the
up
team.
though, to sum it up, every pro team saw me and said, you know what, this guy's special, Pat. He's something else.
See, but Tommy, the problem is, and this is the big issue here, is we could have ran it in AW, but you didn't want to go that route, and then I just had team with Austin, put you in the dirt a few times.
It was once.
No.
We beat you at champs too.
Yeah, we beat you at
Really?
champs. Yeah.
Wait, you're talking about in AW?
Yeah.
But if you had to argue who had a more successful year in AW,
Oh, for sure, you. But
It was me.
we're talking about early on though, like when we were agreeing. You know what I mean? Like in the. Then I had to put you down with stitches in my hand on that Sunday.
how'd you get stitches in your hand?
Oh, we've had this conversation too many times, bro. It's just not even worth it at this point.
All right, listen, we're going to end it there anyway. I appreciate you guys coming on. We've been going for like 2.5 hours, so I don't want to drag it out. But I appreciate Austin, Pat. It's always a pleasure having you guys on. Austin, did you want to do an episode? The fucking
Yeah,
talk?
we can do one.
I didn't know if you want to do one.
Nah, I said I was gonna do one, bro. So I'll do one.
You want to do it this week?
What day?
We could find out a day later on. I gotta check my schedule because I got a few things I gotta do this week.
Not tomorrow because I'm going to USA Costa Rica.
No, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got a few things that I gotta look at, Austin, with my schedule.
Let's do like Friday or Saturday.
yeah,
Bro,
well-
just text me when you figure it out. I should
But
be good.
stay tuned for that chat. We definitely want to get Austin on to come talk a bit. And then Pat, thank you for coming on today. Always love hearing your points. Very smart
Pat's
guy.
always welcome on
Appreciate
the
it,
show, man.
Hope
Always
to
enjoy
see
it
you
when it comes
involved a
on.
lot more, man. In the scene and stuff, because I think you should be. And then Ben, you're the fucking man. Appreciate it, man. Guys, I
Today was
hope
a
you
good
guys.
show.
Yeah, today was a good show. I hope you guys enjoyed. Ben, you gotta hit a putt before we go.
I bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben
wait.
Genesee needs to hit this fucking putt.
This.
Let's put our bets up, man. Start the polls, start the channel points, start everything, bro. I'm gonna need some predictions here from Austin and Pat. If you had if you had 500 grand on the line right now, if Ben's gonna hit this or miss it.
Oh my gosh, do I put 500 grand on Ben?
What would you do here?
No.
Do you
I
put
think-
500 on Ben golfing, hitting a putt right now?
I think the last time I watched this, he hit it.
We
Even though
can't
the
see
camera,
Ben
I
moving
think he's
right.
been
The
sinking
camera-
him lately.
Yeah, the camera angle was
He has
terrible,
been
but,
sinking him.
but he made it last time. So yeah, I'm gonna throw the 500 G's down, and I might hedge my bet when I see his form.
Oh
Wait,
man,
you're gonna put it on him to make it?
Damn, you're
Okay.
throwing
I don't like
500
what I'm hearing
G's
right
on
now. I
Ben.
do not like what I'm
What do you
hearing
mean? He
right
just
now.
said he's dropping 500 on you to make it. How do you not
Make it?
like
Okay,
that?
I'll
Heads
take
off.
the
I'm
other
taking
one.
heads off.
I'll take the other one. I'll take the miss.
So you're taking a miss, so somebody's losing
Yeah,
500 racks, bro.
Let's see, let's
Jesus.
see.
Jesus.
You gotta make it interesting, bro. We can't both say the same thing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Genesee stepping up to the plate. He's lining up his shot. He's got the slippers. Those slippers must smell like shit. Let's see what he can do here. He's gonna strike and he's gonna sink the putt, ladies and gentlemen, with the tan lines and everything. Oh, and Austin's broke.
Nuts.
Austin is broke.
Give me
Just like
that.
that.
Oh man, holy shit.
I've actually been putting really well as of late. When I played, I went and played with Ant on like Sunday. Slowest round in my entire life was like a 6-hour round. It's actually losing full, but I played so well, man. And it's just like part of it is just short game. You know, you want to go out there and you want to hit bombs, but you gotta chip well and you gotta putt well.
100%, 100%. And I was gonna say, Ben, before we go, we're gonna end with this nice clip from Doug Sensamartin.
Okay.
He just broke the glass and he's just camping up here. Drizzy, do you understand who you're going up against, dude? Do you know who the fuck I am, Drizzy?
Okay.
Go loot some plates or
clip
something,
this,
dude.
or
Why are you
something?
just sitting in there?
Doug's talking
Do you
shit.
know who I am, Drizzy? Oh shit! I was looking.
Austin's not doing that.
Oh my
Bro,
God.
Ben, Doug is a character, bro. Oh my God, can we get a walk in a chat for the one time? Show Dougie fresh. So he wasn't even looking at his screen, chat. He was looking in the.
Doug.
Hey, it's a good. Hey, show some love to Doug Sensamartin, man. He's a fucking.
Put him on the
animal.
top 30.
Hey, bro, he's gonna be on ESPN. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll get more episodes throughout the week. I'm not sure if any announcements are gonna hit the timeline. I hope they do, cause I don't know what the fuck's happening. I don't know what's taking so long, but I'm sure we'll see more things soon. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Go to anchor.fm/theflank to check out all the audio sites that we're on. Go to @theflank on Twitter. Gersh is doing a phenomenal job. We're over 30K followers on there now, which is absolutely incredible since we started the show a few months ago. So I appreciate all the love and support. And as always, guys, make sure to follow the stream. I'm gonna continue to stream and play some games. So if you want to stick around and have some fun, it'll be an absolute pleasure. As always, thank you to Austin and Pat for joining me and Ben today on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a good fucking day. Take care, guys.
Peace.